Hey, hello everybody. I'm here this evening or lunchtime for Scarab. Scarab. Hello, how are you?
How are you doing? I'm glad to be back with you once again. I really enjoyed our last broadcast and was looking forward to this all week. I'm glad that we're able
Oh,
to
that's
find
good to
time
hear.
to do it.
Good to hear. Um, that's really good to hear. I like that very much, Scarab. So have I. And we were just talking. I thought I've got to stick the record button on. Do you remember what we were talking about?
Yeah, we were talking about the idea of waking up, the spiritual nature of many people that are out there, but mainly ourselves, and what it took to kind of break in, through the other side and to start seeing the world for what it is, the strangeness of it all, and looking at how things are, how things seem similar, strange, and scripted in a sense. We've it takes a lot. It's not an easy journey, and that's what I was trying to explain. Is like I wish I would have. I wish I could tell you that when I was younger that I woke up one day and I just, and it was so easy and I knew about all this and I wasn't connected to the matrix in a sense the way I used to be. But unfortunately that's not the way it happened. I went through the same things that all of us go through. The only problem are the reason I think most people do wake up is eventually you start to realize the ego, and you have to sort of separate yourself from the ego, because the ego is what keeps you convinced that the reality and the worldview that you grew up with is real. And it's a very strong, very powerful thing. And
Can I
it
add
takes,
something? I
yes.
I know what exactly what you mean, but like I watched. It's a program again, but it's stuck in my mind. They said you need an ego even to get out of bed. It's not having the ego; it's how you use your ego.
Yeah, but most people's egos are very narcissistic now.
Yes,
And that's my problem, is that we've overamped the ego. And I don't think you need an ego to get out of bed. I don't know if that's true. Here's my thinking. The reason I say the ego is because people a lot of times just will not accept anything else other than a mainstream view of the world. And that is the biggest problem that we're having right now. And yes, they'll dabble in certain things, and sure, they'll
but they got
watch
that the right way, Scarab, because basically every single body has a television. So even I have. I've got three. I just don't really watch
yeah,
film.
well,
I don't
I
watch.
have we have them. I don't
They
watch
can
them.
program us how they want, can't they?
Oh, they don't
Everybody's
get
got
turned
one.
on. They don't get turned on in my house. I don't, I have them. Sure. I don't even know why I have the damn thing. It's just sitting on a wall. It's literally a picture frame. I don't. I mean, I used to watch sports, but then a few years ago, I watched something happen in the NFL. I already knew. I was sort of thinking like some of these games look a little fishy to me, like
Yes,
just the plays and the are like. There's no way. Like I guess it goes back a few years ago. I was watching this. There was a Super Bowl where the guy decided to pass on the 1 yard line, right? And he threw an interception. I think people might know about this one. Anyway, the point is why wouldn't you hand the ball off to your big running back and just win the game? No, I'm going to stand back and throw an interception. Like, come on, man. Who calls these plays? Like, it's kind of so it started making me thinking, like, is this? There's a lot of money on the betting on these
I think
things.
Scarab. I
So I
think
wonder,
I
like,
think when they're live, this is why often they don't win because when they're fixing it and doing their CGI and whatever they do on the games that are filmed, they can do what they want. They can win by 6 goals then or whatever. But when it's live, that's why it's usually 0-0 or just about 1 goal happens because they can't play like that.
well, I saw something in a few years ago that
It's all
just
fixed.
told me that this whole thing. Okay, look, I am not going to get into sports. I don't want to bore everybody, but like the scripted nature of reality happens everywhere. Okay, you have to understand it's it's not just in politics and government and things like that. Let me tell you. Okay, So this guy, I was watching a game and I couldn't believe what I was seeing. And I couldn't believe that no one even, I was like, am I watching like a Mandela effect or something right here? Are we shifting during this game? Because this is the most bizarre thing I've ever seen, and nobody seemed to report on it. Nobody seemed to care. But there was one YouTube channel that put it out there and said, scripted, this is scripted. And I thought, you're absolutely right. So what it was is they handed the ball off to a guy and he fumbled it. Okay. Again, not to bore everybody, but I'm going to get right through this. So he fumbles the ball. Apparently, there's a pile of men, trying to get the ball. Well, the ball squeezes out, and guess what? The guy who fumbled the ball has the ball. He's standing there holding the ball in the air, like I got it, while this pile ensues on the field.
Mm.
Then all of a sudden, a referee comes over. They unpile the guys, and she points that it's the other team's ball, while the guy who fumbled it is holding it. And no one, you can challenge these calls in the NFL. You can do all this stuff. The guy walks off the field sort of, befuddled. And, he's like the only one that he looks like he's in the twilight zone. Like he's like,
Do
wow,
you think what
what the
happens
hell
is
just
that
happened? I'm holding a ball. And yet they gave it to the other team. And he looked a little pissed off, but he wasn't going crazy. Like, I'm sorry, but that to me, I mean, the coaches, there's all the cameras, everyone. How did everyone just agree that it's the other team's ball when the dude who fumbled it recovered his own fumble? Like, and this was an actual game, between I think the Redskins and the Cleveland Browns, and I'm just saying, like, this is scripted reality at its finest. And I know it's football. I know a lot of people are like, Dan, but I'm telling you, if you saw this, if you just understand it, to me, I was like, okay, we are so living in a scripted reality. Okay. Like I think they want us to put emotional energy into things that really don't matter because it's all a bunch of BS. Okay.
I actually
Bottom
think the
line.
media run us. Actually, it's the media that are in control of everything.
Yeah.
Not the presidents. It's the media
Well,
because it's coming right into your house. It's all
there's
a big
bigger entities
military
in
program.
power. Well,
Yeah.
what it is, yeah, I think there's bigger entities in power, right? And then you have the president who plays like a puppet. Essentially, he goes along and does sort of what the bigger entities want, and those entities control the media. So essentially, you're correct. That's, in my
Well, I
opinion, how
don't
it works.
miss Trump. I'm sorry, I don't miss him.
Mm. Well, I know you're not a big
But then
Trump
you
dude,
haven't seen
but the
Biden,
thing
have
is
you?
like I'm
America,
not
America,
either. I'm not
America.
really a big I'm not a Trump supporter, but here's my problem with it. I think for me is like, even is, you know, I try to be as awake and cognitive and enlightened as much as I can. And that damn stuff still pulls you back in. It's like the mafia. It's like the moment you try to get away, they pull you back in. And that's what I see going on because it's like
It's
I mean, I
history
know it's
after
BS.
history after history. It's lie after lie after lie. And I think that they
Yes.
push the people so much with these headlines
Hmm.
that it's a bit like people can't even. Well, I know people won't forget 9/11, but people forget these things because such horrible things
I'm
have
going to
happened.
test you right now.
The
I'm going to
horrible
test
things
you.
have happened since that you
I,
can't
I'm
remember now.
I'm going to test you because why do you not like Trump? Why? What is it? No, no, I'm doing this to be mean. I really want to know what is it that why do you not like him? What has he done? World, I mean, okay. I mean, like as far as like if you say I can't, I'm glad he's gone. I don't want him president. What has he done? Give me one example of something he did. Did he start wars in another country like Bush and commit genocide? Did he do that? Is he a war criminal? What did he do?
Because he wasn't real in the first place. None of them are.
Which president? Well, give me a president who's been real.
But what it was is that he doesn't like when you heard some of the things he said to what, say, other presidents have said, but then you think, well, how could you have ever believed the other presidents? But I just don't miss him
Because
at
it,
all.
but what is it that made you not like him?
Because
Is it the media?
he
Is
was
it what you
I
saw on
didn't
social?
I saw it all in the other ones, but when I started doing what I do, breaking the people down, I was on Trump and I did a lot of Trump, and every time it was like, look, there's a glitch, there's this. It was every single time. Look, his eyes have changed colour. Look, he was wearing a
So,
red tie,
hey,
now he's
look,
got a black tie, now he's got a red tie. And I
look.
could find the mistakes
I
in
know,
every
but I'm
video.
saying politically though, okay, fine. I'll give
I'm
you
not
this.
into that anymore,
I'll
Scarab.
extend the olive branch and say to you, you know what? I agree a lot. Like the fact that we had a reality TV show host as president is pretty bizarre.
The
His
WWF
speeches, his
WWF
speeches
person.
suck. His speeches absolutely suck. I can't even stand listening to him. I'll give you that. But as far as his policies and what he did, like, okay, if he was rude to the
Because none
media,
of it's
he was rude to
real.
the media.
Because
Oh, well,
since I've it might have been since we last talked, but I did this
yeah.
video. This video came out basically saying America was still a corporation, and then what you work out is that the Mad King John. What's your biggest president? I can't think. Washington. So basically, the Mad King here was actually
Yeah.
Washington, and then actually he turned everything into a corporation, and so the Queen runs the corporation and all that,
Right.
and you're like,
Right. It's all, listen, I get it. It's what I just ask people that question because I get that a lot. And my problem with
I don't like
people,
any of them. I don't like
well,
Biden either. I don't like
well,
Boris.
I
In fact,
mean,
what they all need to do is
who would you trust? This is a hard question.
they all need to go to prison.
I would say, who would you trust to watch your kids? I certainly wouldn't want them around Biden, that sniffer. Something wrong with that dude. Come on now. That Texas, I remember when I guess they were doing pictures or something at the White House, or maybe it was at Congress, and they were taking pictures, and they had all these cameras there and all these new like here, this is for this year when he was vice president. And did you see the one Texas, I guess he was a Texas senator or congressman, I can't remember, but he went to slap his hand away, like, no, Joe, don't touch my children. Like, everyone knew what Joe was doing. That's the thing. Everyone knew. Okay. They all know it, that he had the gall to actually try to slap Joe's hand away. What? And the rest of them were just offering up their children, like, here you go. Yeah, Joe, go ahead and just, all right, Groper, let's get this over with. Like, at least the one guy did something. The rest of them are all like, you're talking about total sellouts, man. I mean,
Scarab,
they're willing to
Scarab,
like let Joe touch on their kids, man.
even with that
Uh,
story, how do we know any of that's true? Because
Because
they make the
I at least
story.
watched the video of him like
Yeah, but they
literally
make the
being
stories,
inappropriate
don't
with the
they?
kids. Okay, like that's not a, like, as far as I can tell, I don't think they coached him and said, hey, we need you to touch and grope children on camera, Joe. That's part of the script. No, I think that these guys, I think he's got a little, I mean, his son obviously. Did you see the videos of Hunter Biden?
I did some videos about him where actually, and just about when he's being inaugurated,
Ooh.
listen, his son's head was twice as big as his. Suddenly there was a great big, so none of that was real.
I don't know. You're talking about the video. You know what? Here's the thing. You might be
I'm
right
saying they
because
make the videos up. I mean, I've watched
right.
Camilla, right? Camilla, right?
Hmm.
What it is basically she's totally impatient. But when it came to Biden, like they went to this, he was just about to become president, and they went
Uh-huh.
to do a wreath laying. And what it was is she walked in front of him. He's
There
just becoming
is.
the president, and she's walking. And then what it was is because I zoom in on them and look at them, and all she's
Hmm.
doing is she's like, come on, come on, come on, and and her face, she's always, I was thinking, oh my god, you don't want her as president.
Well, you're probably right about some of this because
I just think
it
what it
is
is
not
it's all
it's
a
not hard
game.
to,
It's all a
let me
game.
just,
It's all
well,
just
wait.
set up. It's all
Like,
it,
here's what I
they're all
this is,
related.
well,
Like
I get it.
Hillary
I
is
know.
Trump's
And this is the
cousin.
thing. This is what I'm trying to tell you though, is like, so somebody took my picture off of Facebook, and just like, it's not even that great a picture. It's just like my profile, whatever. Me just kind of looking at the camera, taking a quickie, selfie or whatever. Anyway, the point is you can take that little picture and then wrap that image around. Somebody wrapped me around like famous black and white actors and actresses. Even made me even look like a female. They even wrapped my face around a male stripper and had me dancing. Like, I kid you not. And it
No,
looked like
that's
me.
what
It
they
looked
do,
like
isn't it?
me up there stripping.
That's why
And I'm just
everybody
saying,
looks
like,
like everybody else.
that's the free technology, okay? That's
Yeah.
the free app. Like, what do you think they can do? They're giving you out that kind of like, all I'm saying is you take like my face part, like just the frontal part of my face, and you can wrap that on anybody's face and make it look like them. Well, you got to question what you see, right?
Yeah.
Just saying, in all
This is
honesty.
what they do, and this is why there's always like a base person, like Morgan Freeman is a base person. Even Will Smith now looks like them, and then you've got like Tom Cruise and Matt Dillon, and there's Brad Pitt. They all oh just anyway.
Who
I just
knows?
think
Maybe they're all
they
just,
use their eyes, their nose, and their
yeah.
mouth. You don't have to worry about their
Did you
ears
see
or
the
their hair.
I don't even think like I think too I just showed this on my broadcast too, where they're doing like these really high tech latex masks where you can just wrap, you can put, as long as the facial structure is close, like you have a thin face, you can whatever, you can have a Biden sort of shape to your head. You can put his face right over yours with latex. And like it's weird because like on a few videos you can see Fauci, which appears like he's wearing a mask. And then my theory was, well, that's not really Fauci. See, what they've done is they just that's why their faces are so damn smooth. Like, they almost look, at first I thought, well, it could be just camera, like filters and things like that. They can do that nowadays. But like you can see the mask coming up out of the shirt. You can see the mask on Joe. You can see different, like literally a line under his chin where it looks like, well, there's darker skin and then there's way lighter skin. It looks pretty
I
obvious to
don't even
me.
know how they do it. I thought that when I break it down myself, they look like cartoons, and I'm thinking virtual reality. But
Well,
when they
I
deep
think I,
fake,
I
what
think they're
they
using
deep
a lot
fake,
of things, right?
they need
I
to
think they're
the eyes,
using
nose, and mouth
right.
deep
Right.
faking.
I think the technology to fake a personality is very easy to do. You can simply use the software to now
Do you know
mimic
what it's
someone's
like? It's a
voice.
bit like, just say, for instance, we were going to play Biden. It's like I
Hmm.
go, do you want to be Biden today, or shall I? So you're always looking at Biden, but you go, he looks different today. He's different. And then the thing I've got to tell everybody is that everybody knows Biden and Trump and Boris have blue eyes, but when you watch them on the television, they've got, or any newsreel, they've got brown eyes because they're deep
Hmm.
fake. They're deep fake.
Well, that could be definitely an issue there, right? I think people have mentioned the
It's
eye colors
really weird
changing
to
and
think
stuff.
that
Yeah.
we are
Well, like I
run.
said, if they're wearing just if like imagine if you needed a body double because you become super famous and whatever, and you don't want the paparazzi to follow you, so you're gonna send your girl out there who's wearing a latex mask who looks just like you, by the way. I mean, you're probably wearing a hat and sunglasses, and you can't really tell, but they can do a latex mask that looks just like your face, and they can wrap that over themselves, and they
But it's
can
a bit
and
weird though, Scarab, to think that we're just run by programs. We're just like
uh
we're just like
we're
that film
the
we
hoax
watched in
and
Army,
fakery. Yeah,
Total
well,
Recall. He goes to Mars and he's watching the
yeah,
television and he knows
yeah,
who the baddies are and the baddies are running everything. So it's
right.
the same thing. That's what we're in right now.
No, we are in that. Yeah, we're in that. What is it? The Running Man, I think it was. A long time ago, there was a TV, a movie out. I think it was on Schwarzenegger too. Yeah, and so in that movie, or he basically they set him up as being a killer. They overlaid his face and digital image him saying something he didn't, and it was some other guy, but they made it look like him. And then of
Mm,
course everyone wanted to find him and get him because he was wanted, right?
mm.
Well, this like that could happen right now easily. I mean, all you got to do is, just you can fake it
Yeah, the
digitally.
same
It's
thing.
scary.
What it is the news comes
They
on and
control reality
they
because of
say
that.
they
Like,
say
oh
Trump
my God,
won. This
it's
is Trump in Hawaii, and all they've
right.
done is deep faked it. He never went.
Yeah,
That it's horrible to think. And so they go, this is a war. This is this. None of it's real.
that's why I avoid staying off of camera as much as I can because I'm just like, I don't really just, I mean, not
I
that they
think they
already don't
AI
have
us
my
personally.
face and they could do something if they wanted to, but I
Yeah,
guess,
I think they AI our faces.
Well,
Because often when we've
well,
recorded it, I can see a white ring around people's faces. I think they AI you. They can take your
well.
face and they can put you in a court scene. How do you just don't
Of
know?
course they could.
It's just,
No, they could do. Listen, I'm telling you, the technology. They put me on a stripper. My face. It looked like me up there dancing. Look, the same, the color match, the skin color match, everything. And like they had me up there, and it like it was a little smoother or whatever because it showed more of a younger me. But still, it was like it was crazy that they could take my face and do that with, and it looked legit. Like if I'm sorry, but if you're not really paying attention, you're used to this technology already. Like many people are, they can't even see the green screen anymore. Most
mm,
people think that when these guys are doing interviews, that they're out there standing in front of Congress, or they're out at the beach or whatever.
mm.
Man, that could so easily just be a green screen. That is never. You don't even know that it's a movie set. It's Hollywood and politics have sort of merged and blended. Maybe it's like Wag the Dog or something. I don't know, but it's like it's gotten to that state right now, or what we think is real because the media says it is totally false.
I
And
agree with you. I
you
agree
know,
with you. That's exactly what it is.
so tell me about your boy. Your boy. We in America were all hinging on the fact that your boy was right. You know who he is. I want you to tell me about Simon Parks. What is going on with him? What's happening?
Who's that?
You don't know Simon Parks? I'm shocked. Connected Consciousness. You don't know about them? He's over there he's in England somewhere, I
Oh,
think.
you mean my friend James?
Not is it James? No, it's Simon. Simon Parks. He was a guy who was he has like kind of a he runs. The reason I mentioned him is 'cause I thought you probably knew him. I thought most of your listeners probably knew who Simon was because he was widely popular in the US. He was sort of promoting the fact that there's this bigger deep state thing going on, and that very soon they're going to be arresting Biden for treason and all these people. And he was talking about it literally on a daily basis for a while there. And I was just wondering if you knew about it. But if you don't even know him, well, there's
No,
really no point in discussing it. Okay. I just thought you probably knew who he was. Okay. All right.
I don't know everybody.
Oh, it's okay. Well, you only know the important people. So that's really all that matters.
Yeah, I know
I'm
you.
kidding. I'm kidding. Huh?
I know you.
Exactly. Exactly. And you know what? Hey, once you know me, I mean, I get it. It's like you're just like, you know what? I don't need more friends. I got Dan, and everything's no, I'm just joking. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Look, I like to joke around and have a little fun, but yeah, I was wondering if you knew about that. No, because there was a lot of stuff going down about stuff that he was saying, and that he seems to um, you know, well, it's interesting, and I was just curious to know what your thoughts were on all of that, because it seems to me that he's being fed the wrong information, and I think that honestly, he seems like a decent fella with a good heart, but unfortunately, I think his information has been a bit misleading, and so a lot of people thought there was some big events that were going to happen in the US regarding, because you just mentioned the whole corporation stuff. And so that's been kind of being thrown around there again, like, well, that's what this whole thing's about. It's about getting us removed from the corporation of the United States of America and literally freeing the world of this control that's been over us. So it sounds like this great new awakening coming. And I thought, God, that would be wonderful if that were the case. Finally, let's free us, free humanity. Like that's, I think most of us can get on board with that. So anyway, just was wondering if you knew.
I think I do know who he is, but I'm so busy with my own stuff that
Mm.
yeah, I
I
I
spend
can't
a
watch.
lot of
I
time
actually can't watch
researching.
everything.
Yeah, I spend a lot of time looking at everybody around the world, like all kinds of different, places of
Yeah, because
of
you're
of,
big
of
thing
information.
Mandela, isn't it? The Mandela effect.
Well, it's not just Mandela. I do. Before I was Mandela, I was really into, for a time I was into politics, but I was also into like, everything else. I mean, you name it, any type of, weird, crazy sort of conspiracy angle. I was looking to try to decipher and look at it from my point of view. And it wasn't until the Mandela effect that I decided to get out there and speak and talk about it, because I guess at the time on YouTube, when it was a little freer, there was plenty of channels out there speaking their truth. And I guess I was quenched. I didn't need to to put my name in the hat, because at the time it just seemed like, well, there's plenty of people doing good work. There's no need. I don't need to saturate it anymore. And then as time goes by and channels get removed, and we start seeing people get blocked and whatnot, it's kind of gotten down to where it's very difficult to find people just speaking their truth anymore on YouTube. It's like everyone's either afraid or has lost their channel, or just has decided that it's just pointless because no one's listening, because they've become so corporatized that even smaller channels can't really, unless you're part of the bigger internal networks of YouTube, you cannot get anywhere. You're sort of stuck.
Can I just say that that's happened? That's happened to me. The main channel has 2 strikes on it right now, and I know
Oh no.
I've heard a load of people having strikes, but
Yeah.
I actually used a little bit of footage from RT News, and I got done for medical misinformation when RT News is still
Oh
going. It was a live stream and they
man.
got paid. And so,
Oh no.
oh, excuse me, I sneezed. So, how can that be when RT has still got it showing, but I get paid?
Yeah.
So, that's how biased YouTube are.
Oh man, that's yeah. Well, RT is corporate news, and at the time they had that sort of Newsmax angle to things, and people were literally looking for an alternative source, and it's like, and they were literally listening to RT News. I mean, that's what people were just they what they do is they they sort of like they make us thirst for real news, and so people realize, I think instinctually, that what they're getting fed is BS, and so they go out looking for another source, and there they just so happens, I'm sorry, RT was well funded just like the rest of them are, to run these even, what do you want to call, B-level news organizations, but they still have a lot of money.
I know what you mean
And
about the locking down, because obviously I thought, right, well, okay, I'll put myself on BitChute. I like certain things on BitChute and I like lots of things on YouTube, but on there, because it's obviously a bit freer on that channel, and because I feel so
yeah.
tied down, even though I like the things I talk about, if we weren't tied down, I'd say a lot more, but we're tied down. So we're not allowed to talk about things that, we're put in these boxes. But on BitChute, they write me messages like, haven't you seen what's going on today? Because obviously it's not so locked down in BitChute. Maybe people, a lot more people put stuff out on BitChute about it. You can't
You know
on
what I
YouTube.
think?
They
You know
just
what
shut
I
them
find?
down.
Just for your audience, this is how I sort of gauge it, right? Because nothing I do is scripted in any way. When I hit the go live button, that's literally like a few hours before the broadcast. I put together sort of an overall outline of what I may cover, with the help of others in my crew. And what we do, and these are all, this is people that are just helping, to help. And I try to give back when I can. Um, so we're a very small, organization. But what I do is I just try to show some memes, I show some news articles and whatever. And if you listen to you or me or any of the handful of real people out there, you can tell, like, we have to pause and we have to think about what we're going to say sometimes. What drives me crazy is that, how many times have you watched YouTube channels that you like, okay, that are giving you information about something, just sit there, look right at the camera, and spew out all the information for like literally an hour, 2 hours that they're going to give you, right? And never stop to think about what they're saying, stop to, change direction in a thought process. Like, the way people act on YouTube, even YouTube, is like very much like news media, and those people are reading off a teleprompter. And so my theory is that, like, there's people out there that are on YouTube that are very scripted, and The way you can tell is because they never pause for a thought. They never stop to think about what they're saying. They don't act human. They have all the information. They're very confident in giving you all the, stuff they believe in. But it's like nobody believes. Give me a break. Nobody believes everything they believe. You know what I'm saying? Like they're not sure if everything is 100% truth or not. I have my theories, like you have your theories, but we're willing to talk about it and mill it over and then come to a some sort of like Occam's razor conclusion as to what the
You
final
know, the thing that's
answer might
missing,
be.
the
Yes.
thing that's missing is that people aren't talking with each other; they're talking at you. Even in
Right.
group discussion,
But
which
even
is
talking at
you
you
do
though,
that.
it's like but even talking at you, it's like it's don't you realize another thing? Here's another thing too. For all you Yanks out there that are listening to me, one of the
And
biggest
British,
ones
and British, or
and
English,
British,
and European, and
British
Australian.
too, because they probably do the same thing in Britain too. But like my
Everyone.
my theory is that the intelligence network is worming its way all through YouTube. It is like, it's there. And I think these people hire quote content creators and people like that to do a job to be a talking head for an agenda. So you have to be careful where you're getting this information. Just like Alex Jones or people like here, he'll give you some real information with a spin, of course. He'll lead you in a certain direction. And he's always talking out of his, both sides of his mouth. The guy's, he's a pro. But like one thing you
You
can
know who
look
else
at,
he is? He's Pompeo. He was in the government as well. Not only was
hmm,
he Bill Hicks and the other one, he was Pompeo as well. It's
oh, good.
disgusting.
I wouldn't, at this rate, who knows? I mean, maybe you're right. I've looked in, it's so hard nowadays, like I said, with the digital technology to say that, this guy is really him or not. But I'll tell you what, somebody mentioned, you're going to laugh at this, but did you see remember the shooting at the Capitol building?
What, a few weeks ago,
Did you
about a
remember?
month ago.
Yeah, when the big siege, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was so scripted. Like, I'm sorry, but that was just, whatever. That lady didn't get shot, and she didn't die, and I don't believe any of it. Okay, I don't believe a word of it. I mean, looking at like how it transpired and watching the police go up the
Well, you know what?
stairs, the whole
Well,
thing.
I hear
Yeah.
Biden isn't even there anymore. That he filmed from a film set in California.
Well, it's somewhere. I mean, it looks very suspicious. There's somebody calls it Castle Rock Entertainment, and it's funny that there was a person with a Castle Rock hat at his inauguration in the freaking crowd. They were wearing a Castle Rock Entertainment hat.
Yeah.
Like get out of here, or it was a beanie or something. Anyway, the point is that if you watch that show, and maybe you should investigate this since you like to look into these cast of characters they might be playing. But somebody tipped me off, and I was like, man, I would love, maybe there's a ring of truth to this. It was like, wow. So, Alex Jones was there during the siege. He was up there bullhorning, doing his thing. Now, if you go back and you probably have to go to Bitchute or something and watch the video, but watch the guy that comes out and shoots the girl that's going through the window.
I saw that
Eh,
one.
well, look at the guy. Now tell me if he does. Look at the hairline. Look at him real close. He's wearing a mask, but somebody says, I think that's Alex Jones. Now, wouldn't that be just ironic? I mean, talking about a movie set, right? Talking about the script. If Alex is the one, is the guy who killed Liberty, like that day with that gunshot, right? Like of all the people who've been promoting like this, yeah, we gotta go against the government and blah blah. Alex is just so full of crap. But the
But
point
do
is
you know
though, wouldn't it
something?
be?
Do you know something? When
Yeah,
I was looking at the footage,
yeah.
I actually, it goes through your mind. Oh, he looks a bit like Pompeo,
Mm.
which is Alex Hicks. I mean, Alex Jones.
Yeah. Well, I don't know about the Pompeo link because that's the first I'm hearing of it,
It's on
but
my channel. It's on the Sun and Moon.
oh, is it? Oh, okay. Why am I not getting I know I subscribed to your, see, I barely get any notifications at all. So bad. So bad.
I don't
YouTube, it's
either.
terrible. Hum?
I don't either, but I do
No.
sometimes, or they come in like 2 or 3 days later.
Yeah, sometimes I just get a random pop-up. I mean, it's like then I'm like, "Oh," and I'll go back and look and like, "Oh, this person put out 2 or 3 videos," and like, "Hello,"
I'm
did not
always
know.
putting out videos, as long as I'm
Yeah.
putting out videos.
Well, they probably got you shadow banned or something.
You know
I
this
don't know.
Mandela effect? I wanted to talk to you about that. It's
What do
really,
you wanna talk about Mandela? Tell me, what is it you'd
it's
like to know?
really, really strange right now. James, a friend, came to stay for a few weeks, and we started to look things up. And we were
Yes.
looking up these things called spit forts. They're between the Isle of Wight and like Portsmouth. They're sort of, you know, now we realise as well that there was more land around us, and so that was all maybe why they're there, because when they were built on land, but they're in the water
Uh-huh.
now. Then
What are they called?
Napoleon
Hold on a second. They're called spit
spit
forts?
forts in the English Channel.
Spit forts in the English. Okay, I've never heard of spit forts. I've heard of star forts, which
They're,
I've covered many
but
times.
so far, because obviously I did ask
You
people,
know,
but there's one in on France, but that's like a Mortello tower shape, and there's another
okay.
one in Wales. So there's got to be more of them. And
Spit.
then
You mean like SPIT?
yeah,
Spit
spit, yeah.
fort.
And then
Okay.
basically we found out that Napoleon was
Oh,
the baddie that everybody told us he was. But basically, when he came into England, he kind of got,
what
but
in the hell are these?
it
Look at that. That is absolute. Okay, I know the audience can't see this, who are watching this, but you got to look this up. Oh my lord, what are these rounded
listen,
spit
two of
fort?
them are hotels, so they've sort of been done
What?
out, and two of them are derelict. And it does seem they might have added stuff in the Second World
And
War.
when were these built exactly?
Who knows?
That's what I mean. Like, and how far out are they in
They
the
said the
channel?
1800s.
Oh yeah, like they're gonna what? They're gonna boat a bunch of concrete out there and build this thing? Yeah, okay. Yeah, I believe that.
When the water goes down, a couple of them are
Oh,
built
I
on
see.
rocks, but
Really? Really? You didn't realize it's still muddy? Like, how are you gonna get concrete to set in water? Like, you have to
yeah,
put piers
and
down
then
and
if
sink
you
piers,
go,
machines, and this stuff would like sink after a while. You can't just put this on like sand.
hey, do you want me to tell you even more something that we
Okay,
looked up? But
this
there's,
is absolutely bizarre.
I've got to find the video
What
because
in the hell?
I'm not on there. Oh, anyway, so
Yeah.
Napoleon wasn't a baddie after all. That actually, when he was, even though he was boat arrested, basically he came on shore and everybody was wearing red carnations. So I went and looked it up, and red. So if it was dark red, they loved him, and if it was light red, they admired him. Either way, it was all thumbs up for for Napoleon, and it's like,
Well,
no, he was a baddie. Anyway, they didn't want to execute him, and they exiled him to Saint Helena. But it's like, what?
hmm. I
It
wouldn't be
doesn't all add up.
surprised if our history is all lies when it comes to people that they've demonized as like conquerors or whatever. Like maybe people, maybe he saw something that was, that he realized maybe he was fighting against the powers that be. The history, the victor writes the history. So what do you think they're going to do? They're going to write history and say, well, Napoleon realized that, the oligarchy was evil and corrupt and he was trying to go against it. And, you know, yeah, you think that's going to be in the history books? No. You're always going to hear about, it is weird though, how in history, like there's always like this, like a person that like gets in there and kicks a lot of ass, like Genghis Khan or Napoleon or Peter, not Peter, who am I thinking of? Oh, I can't think of it. I just lost the Alexander the Great.
Mm.
People like that literally can go out there and just like at some point there's like this person that goes in and decides that they just want to, what? You think Alexander the Great just wanted to what? You want to take a bunch of men. How do you convince people of this? Think about this. You're going to leave, you're going to literally conquer the known free world, okay, by raping and pillaging all these other places like they said he did, right? By conquering all these, he literally conquered the known free world within a short period of time. But why would he do it? Why is it that there's something inherent in people to make them want to rise up and do this and create all this havoc? Now, we don't know why his reasonings were. I mean, most people think that, he, they just, the lust for money and treasure and women and all that kind of stuff just made him do it, like he just went through and, wanted to, that's how you garner wealth, by stealing it from others back in the day, right? But like, there's still a risk. Like, you have to worry about, like, there are other armies you have to fight. They are throwing spears and God knows what else at you. So I mean, so the risk of your own life for the fact that what was the cause is my main concern. And I wouldn't be surprised. I really think that when we hear about history's villains, like, there's always another aspect to it, right? And makes me think to myself that, you know what? I wouldn't be surprised if a lot more of these guys were probably in their, thinking, at least in their belief system, they think they were doing the right thing by going
Mm.
out here and doing what they did, right? So it's hard to say. I don't know. Like I said,
Hey,
hey,
Scarab, do you want to see some
yes,
other weird looking things? Just
sure. What do you got?
put in your search bar
Okay,
abandoned World War II sea forts in Thames estuary.
okay, that is a mouthful.
Abandoned. Well, you can put WW2 sea forts
Sea forts. Okay,
in the Thames estuary.
in the Thames Estuary. I am just winging this one because I don't know what I'm doing. Let's see. All right. Inside abandoned. Okay. Sea forts off of the UK coast. This one?
Yeah, have you seen them? They're War of the World looking things.
Oh, those things. Okay. Weird. Weird. What? All right. That's bizarre. That
They
looks
were
like an
supposedly
easy.
built.
I
They were
don't
built
know.
in the Second World War, those ones.
There's so many new World War II things that, like, see, I studied World War II, like, for about, I don't know, 10, 15 years when I got really, when I was really looking into history. I thought history was cool. So I studied a lot of history, and World War II was, one of the ones I studied. I was just, looking at just, I mean, it's just amazing to me, like, like the stuff that went down in World War II,
Mm.
right? And so I was kind of familiar with the technologies of World War II and things like that. And then you hear about, like, then it kind of sparked my interest again when I found out, like, America was attacked by Nazis. Apparently, there was this big, saboteur explosion in New York Harbor, and it damaged the Statue of Liberty. I'm like, you got to be kidding me! I've never heard of such a thing. What are you talking about? And then I found out that the Japanese also killed Americans on our soil after the war. There was a bomb that went off, a balloon bomb that they sent over, and it killed some person. I never heard of this. I mean, the razzle dazzle camouflage ships. They're painted. Have you seen those razzle dazzle camouflage ships? Like, they're painting. You got to see these ships. They're crazy. It's like, why wouldn't I have seen a razzle dazzle ship at some point? And then you look and you see them now. They used to paint these ships with these weird sort of geometric patterns on the ship, so that would disguise how many ships were in the convoy, so that German U-boats would have a harder time determining their distance for torpedoes.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, look that up. That's crazy. And now these things right here are nutty too, because they're so close together. It's like, I don't really understand, unless they used to have ramps that attach these things. But it looks like something that would be really easy to target. Like, I don't know how say what was the point of these exactly? Do you know?
No, but most of it's lies anyway and stories. So they've
Well,
just, I don't know, like
I don't know.
things didn't happen like the way that they've said.
Yeah. These are kind of crazy looking. And they look like a barracks or something for men that would be, you know,
They
and they've
said
been
that
sitting
those
there.
things could have like fit 2,000 a pod. You're like, oh my God, there
Wow.
could have been thousands of them out there. And but they said it only had 100.
But why would you need men at sea like that? Like, why would you need 2,000 to store 2,000 men at a time when you
Yeah,
could just,
and it looks vulnerable, really, doesn't it?
it does look, no, that's what I was saying. Like, if I was a enemy battleship or something or whatever, I mean, one good salvo into that, and there you go. That doesn't look like very safe at all to be, sleeping. I mean, besides that, you're just sitting there out in the middle of the water, I guess. I mean, it's just bizarre to me. And look how, I mean, what's weird too is when I'm seeing this one, okay, what is going on with these? Are you telling me the ocean used to be a lot higher? Because to me, like, why would they need to be so far up off? I guess the ship
There was
park's next
more
to
of
them.
them. I think there was three. I think there was three of them, and
I'm just
there was
wondering where the water line, where
there
it
was
was at
other
its
ones
max.
because I can't
Hmm.
remember which way round it is, but some of them were owned by the army and some of them were owned by the navy, and I think that's a navy one. But like
Okay.
there was more of them which are gone. That's the only one that's left. But I mean, look at it.
Well, I'm looking at one right here. Is a picture with like five of them in a photograph,
Yeah,
and
they
I'm
used to have
seeing
these
these.
runs between them, so they had these sort of, like treehouse things, so they could get between.
Yeah, but they're not. But like, it just looks like the worst way to store. Why would you want to house men in the middle of the water? Like, that seems like a dumb way to do it. Like, I I don't really get it. And then you'd have to still bring them by boat to be there. So why wouldn't you just park the boat in dock it and let the men get on board? Like, just to move all that material onto these things so that you can move it again onto a boat seems really counterproductive. I don't know. Maybe I don't understand them, but just looking at these things make no sense at all. Massive, amazing, abandoned mega structures. And it's talking about, okay.
I've seen them before, but it's a bit like when you realise everything's such a lie, and how could those spit forks be in the water? And some of them have got wells in them. You don't have a well in a sea, so you're like, what
Well,
is going on here?
all right.
Nothing adds up. Nothing's right. It's all weird. And then in Brighton, what
Hmm.
was it called? It was called
It says
the
right
Daddy
here, by the way, that
Longlegs. Look up the Daddy Longlegs train in Brighton. Look that one up.
okay, Daddy Longlegs train. You know what I saw too in like some weird, oh my God. It's like, okay, so when I look back at our history and look at old black and white photos of whatever, like this is pre-World War II Germany, they had a train like that was hanging from the top of the track and it was going above ground. And it was like, so instead of like imagine a subway train, like, like I don't know why this seems so out of place for me. I mean, the technology and the way this thing was moving, because the film had been fixed, so everyone, it looked like you were watching something today. Like, it wasn't choppy, it wasn't grainy. It was beautiful. And it's black and white, and this train is going over the top while people are walking underneath it. And I'm like, I had no idea they had these elevated trains like that, like in Germany. Like, so you start to see these technological marvels around the world. And it's like, okay, why didn't I ever see anything like this? But uh, every once in a while, somebody puts out a video and they show like super high definition images in black and white of pre World War II Germany or Europe. And it's like, wow, what is going, it blows your mind away, because you're just like, I had no idea that this stuff was even available to us in this type of, the technology and stuff that we could build, right? It's amazing. And so anyway, and I studied a lot. That's what I'm saying. That's why it's shocking to me. All right. Sorry to get on that rant, but what do you want me to look up now?
The Daddy Longlegs in Brighton.
The Daddy Longlegs in
Train.
Brighton.
Daddy Longlegs train in Brighton.
Train in Brighton. Brighton. Okay, here we go. The Extraordinary Daddy Longlegs Railway of Brighton. Let's get a look at this. Huh? What am I looking at here? I see this, what appears to look like a boat on stilts or
That
something.
is a train in the sea. But
It's a
you know what?
train.
They're not going to tell you right, because when I researched it, it was only going for about a week, and then a storm came and ripped up this pier. But that pier, there was three piers in Brighton, And the one that
Mhm.
got ripped up was beautiful. It was a half chain bridge. And basically, it was burrowed into the hillside. And on the end of the platform, which boats went to Dieppe, it was quicker to get to Paris from Brighton than it is Calais. This great big platform they had there was marble. It was like 18 tons of marble out there. And then, of course, the storm ripped it all up.
All right. Well, so is it like on, you say it's a train? Is it like, so I see that the, like, okay, so, oh, this is weird. So what I'm looking at, the remnants of a strange stilted building on rails
Mm,
can still be seen at low tide. So at low tide, you can go out there and see basically the
track.
piers, I guess, the track. Yeah.
It's not the track, it's the pillar things that the track sits on.
Yeah, the pillars that the track sits on,
Yeah.
correct. So they put they put a, now what was the track made of? Because wouldn't like the salt water eventually like, I don't
Hang
know,
on, I'll tell you
degrade it?
something else as well. It was
Oh
the
my God.
widest track that's ever been made. And also,
Okay.
they had electricity in the water, but nobody, it didn't electrocute anybody.
Okay, you tell me there was electricity on that track.
Yeah, in the water.
What? Oh my goodness. This is insane. Again, once again, this incredible technology that we start to like become aware of
But it
that they
still
did.
looks old, doesn't it? So, they said that because of things like those things in the sea and that's how they made War of the Worlds, because they took them into, because they look like War of the Worlds. But
Oh, wow.
you know,
Well, why wouldn't they
as
just
history
put a
got to
boat?
lie,
Like, I don't understand the idea of having, is this because of the low tide effect? I mean, is that what they were thinking? Like they could still have this railway because at low tide they couldn't use boats. So,
yeah, it was out of the sea, but of course, then when the tide came in, it was in the sea.
oh wow.
And there is
That's
another
interesting.
electric train there, one of the first. It's a little mini one, so the people can have little rides on it, but that's there as well. And then what I
Just
realised was that, like in the 1800s, Brighton was just, not only does it have the palace there, which looks like a synagogue, but they say it's a palace. It's got domes. It's got the oldest aquarium in the world. It just goes on. They had an Eden project there. You're like,
well, I
then
don't
what happened to
understand.
it?
What I don't understand is like how they invested so much money into doing this. And I see this thing now. I see it with low tide and I see it on the tracks. And there it is. And it's just like moving pedestal a sense. And there's people on it and they
I've done
just
videos on these
and,
things. They're on the
but
channel.
I also see people walking next to it. Like, so I'm like, well, so what's the point? Like why would you even invest in this? Like, wow, that's crazy. I don't know. I mean, there's so many like marvels that people did and so many inventions that we just went for. It's like, and at the time it's so crazy to think, these undertakings are pretty big, right? Like, for its time period, imagine, I mean, money being money, it's still going to be expensive to do something like this, right? I
Mm.
just don't know where they thought they, I don't
We
know.
had
It's
no
just
roads.
crazy.
We had no roads, no
Right.
trains. They managed to
Right.
burrow that pier into the hill, like so many feet into the hill. How did they do all that when we couldn't even deliver our products very good because we had to do it all by boat? None of it adds up. None of it.
It's weird. Yeah, they'd say it's sort of the way they got this to work is sort of equivalent to their sort of version of Tesla as far as, you know, uh, getting the systems to work in this thing, the electrical systems. They said it was actually um pretty amazing. I got to read more about it. I'm just looking at
And then you've
pictures
got
right
to
now.
think some of the beaches, right? Because Brighton's a flat beach, but some of the beaches have cliffs behind them. And in the
Yeah,
1800s, they've got little things coming down the cliffs with the people in. How did they do all that going up the cliff face?
that is a good question. I mean,
I mean, there's just so many
well,
questions.
it's just like what my biggest thing is like the monumental structures that were built literally in the dark ages in the star forts that are all over Europe. Like my big thing's been star forts, right? Like when I see those structures and I see the scale at what they're built at, okay? I believe they rival the Great Pyramids of Egypt. Some of these star forts. I mean, the land that would have to be removed, the exacting geometry of all this to build everything to the specifications needed, and to go through all the trouble of putting these sharp angles on a fort, and then to have them rise, like, it literally looks like they rise about 100 feet in the air, around the main castle part, some of these. And then inside of it, there's even more structure on top of it. And it's just mind boggling to think, like, you're talking about a time period where horse and buggy is all you had, and the amount of, say, and who was making the stones for the thing, where were they cutting the stones, what were the stones
Scarab.
made
It's
out of,
because they're so accurate. It's not like, oh, well, you can see that that's a pretty good job. It's so precisely
oh
done.
my god, they're beautiful. And then, like I said, the land around it, remember, they have moats around these star forts, and the moats have water around them, and they also match the imprint of the star fort, and like they spread out for acres. I mean, like literally the size of a small city. This Some of these things are so big, it blows you away, and you're like, okay, you now remember, we can make a case for this is 1800s. We're in the, uh, we're definitely in doing more modern machinery and things like that. The Industrial Revolution is starting to kick off. Okay, I can maybe see, okay, we could build, big battleships, we could build stuff like that. So yeah, you could see this is something that they could probably do, no problem. But then you go back further with the Starford thing, and you look at it, and you just like, now they're saying they're dating them back to like the 1500s and stuff like that. Some of these, and I'm saying even that is, who knows? That's suspect. They're probably older than that.
Hey, Scarab,
Um,
I've got a question to
yeah,
ask you. What do you
yes,
think? What do you think windmills are for?
windmills.
Mm.
Well, I've always heard they were for churning um the what is it, the wheat, or like, for like milling essentially. You use wind power to mill and grind the harvest. Is that correct?
Well, that is correct, but actually, their biggest job was to take water out of the ground.
Oh,
That
okay.
is how they reclaimed
Like a
half of
pump
Holland.
system.
It extracts the water out of the ground,
Okay.
and so this is how I said this is how they got half of
Yeah.
Holland back supposedly. And you're like,
I do
no,
remember.
it just
Yeah.
did grain and things. It never extracted water in my life. Now they extract
Hmm.
water.
I don't remember. I did remember seeing ones that turn a large wheel and then move the water, like say from a river area to uh maybe down, you know,
Yeah, but that was to
down land
grind
for
the grain.
irrigation.
That was to grind
Oh,
the grain, wasn't it?
well, I thought, well, I'm just saying, like, I've seen them, other uses for them. I didn't know they pumped water out of the ground. Maybe
Yeah,
like I've seen
water
it where they
injection.
move water, like they could be like I said, on a river where, they could spin, and they could bring water to it, move water in a certain direction to like for irrigation.
This whole place we're living in is changing, and they seemed a lot more advanced in the past. They knew things
They
that we don't do today. You know?
Well, either we two things are going on, and like, and unfortunately, I grew up in the American education system, so you know how bad we are. So, I mean, I have to wear that, badge of shame and say, it was America, and, our system of education is very, limited as far as, really opening up young minds to look at the idea of, the possibilities that might have been out there, until I got older, where I could look this stuff up for myself in books and internet and things like that. And I never liked history as a kid. I thought it was so boring. But of course, it was American history. It was like, and these were lies, man. I mean, you gotta understand, this is a school system that literally taught that George Washington was like Jesus or something. Like, this dude was like, he never told a lie, and he was like the greatest president
That's what I
ever,
meant
and
earlier on. It
like
was
all this
Scarab.
ridiculous.
You said
Yes.
George Washington. That's who I meant earlier on. That's where the it was Mad King George here. He became the president of America. But
You know,
sorry,
it's
carry on.
weird too.
I said the wrong
Is
name earlier on, but that was the
Oh, I
name.
see. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, you know, they always tell us in school, like, George Washington was a Mason, but they never went in to explain what the hell a Mason is. Like,
Actually,
you know,
he was the King of England as well, and his son took over while he was ill. and,
what
and
are
yeah,
you
he
talking about?
when King George became
King George. Okay.
Washington, his son
Yeah.
took over here. His son was proxy for him because he was so mad here, he had to go away. And while he was away, he turned America into a corporation.
Are you telling me George Washington was actually linked to the crown?
Yeah,
Okay.
these videos are on my channel. This one's got.
I
I
wouldn't
did
be
one.
shocked. You know, that would be the
It did.
perfect
It did really
bullshit.
well because
Yeah.
I found it. I found an
Wow.
American flag, but you know when
Uh-huh.
you put the stars, I just put the
Uh-huh.
Great Britain flag in there, and loads of people watched it. And basically, it was a woman. It wasn't even my video. It was a woman explaining it all.
Really? I'm
Yeah.
intrigued. I'm intrigued. Yeah, you know, it wouldn't be, you know, I mean, looking at Georgie and the rest of the guys, no offense, but they do look British. You know,
Yeah.
I
Do you
would
want to hear
think.
it? I can probably play it too if you want to hear it.
Well, I mean, we can definitely.
It's
Yeah, I
only a
mean,
few. It's only a few minutes long. It's not like we're.
okay, all right, let's hear it. Yeah, sure.
I just got to find it. So let me to go to the
Okay,
channel and find it.
sounds riveting. I no, I honestly, that is crazy stuff. Like, I wouldn't be surprised. Like, listen, just because, like, right now we're in the height of deception, like never before, right? But I wouldn't look. I mean, going back and looking at history and all the stuff, yeah, I wouldn't be shocked if this goes. I mean, the whole thing, this whole construct is one just big deception lie after another. Okay. Everything we've learned, everything we've taught is lies. Okay. So, hey, bring on Georgie. Let's hear it. Did you find it?
I've got it here, right. I've just got to put it back a little bit. Hang on. 1 second, just got to put it back. I've got to turn it up as well. Here we go then. Exposes a shocking truth. The United States has always been, and still is, a British crown colony. King James I was famous not for just changing the Bible into the King James Version, but for signing the first Charter of Virginia in 1606. That charter granted America's British forefathers a license to settle and colonize America. The charter also guaranteed that future kings and queens of England would have sovereign authority over all the citizens and colonized land in America, stolen from the Indians. After America declared its independence from Great Britain, the Treaty of 1783 was signed. That treaty specifically identifies the King of England as the Prince of the United States and contradicts the belief that America won the War of Independence. Although King George III of England gave up most of his claims over his American colony, he kept his right to continue receiving payment for his business. It was George. America. If America had really won the War of Independence, they would never have agreed to pay debts and reparations to the King. With the 13th Amendment to the Constitution, the U.S. President was made subservient to the King of England. The 13th Amendment is called the Title of Nobility Amendment and forbids U.S. presidents and their officials from using royal titles like king or prince or baron. For some mysterious reason, the 13th Amendment, which was ratified in 1810, no longer appears on current copies of the Constitution. America's blood-soaked War of Independence against the British bankrupted America and turned its citizens into permanent debt slaves of the king. In the War of 1812, the British torched and burned to the ground the White House and all U.S. government buildings and destroyed ratification records of the U.S. Constitution. 1 century later, a corrupt U.S. Congress committed the biggest theft in world history. They passed Paul Warburg's Federal Reserve Act in 1913, handing over America's gold and silver reserve and total control of America's economy to the Rothschild banksters. Most Americans still believe that the Fed or Federal Reserve is the government. It is not.
The Fed is a privately owned banking system whose majority Class A shareholders are the Rothschild, Warburgs, Kuhn and Loeb, J.P. Morgan, Rockefeller, Israel Seif, and the Lehman Brothers. This private banking cartel is the Fed and is never audited and never pays taxes. They print and design America's money, which displays their symbols of an Egyptian pyramid, a Masonic all-seeing eye, and the words "In God We Trust." Who exactly is the God they trust? They also collect American taxpayers' money through the IRS. Then they loan it back again with interest to pay for roads, bridges, and other public works.
Mm-hmm.
It's nearly
Well,
finished. She's just got a little bit more to say, I think.
all right.
Picked and financed by these special interest power groups. Like George W. Bush, John Forbes Kerry, whose initials are JFK, is a member of Yale University's Skull and Bones Brotherhood. The Forbes part of John Kerry's name identifies his descendancy from Captain Robert Bennett Forbes, who was a drug runner for the Rothschilds' opium drug trade with China in the 1800s. Most U.S. citizens believe that the United States is a country and that the president is the most powerful man on earth. The United States is not a country. It is a corporation, and the president is president of the corporation of the United States. He and his elected officials work for the corporation, not for the American people. Since the United States is a corporation, who owns the corporation of the United States? Like Canada and Australia, whose leaders are prime ministers of the Queen, and whose land is called Crown Land, the United States is just another crown colony.
Yeah, so that's the end of that. That's the end of the video.
Yeah, well, I've heard the stories about that. Of course, starts to make a lot of sense because when you start to see the idiocracy that takes place in our politics in the world and how none of it makes any sense.
The Queen owns everything.
Yeah, of course. And like what it is like, so you have I like this analogy of it where you have America as the military side of the pyramid, then you have the financial district, which is England, and then you have the spiritual side, which is the Vatican. And they all just throw each other under the bus from time to time to make as a misdirect, but they're all working secretly for the same things. And that's
I
world
also put a
domination.
video out about a map in America. I just saw it when I was looking up other stuff, and it basically said all these names are in America. Egypt, London.
Yeah.
All these names,
Yeah, sure.
all these towns are all over America. I thought that was a bit bizarre.
Well, that was why, they had like a lot of people like, remember, that praise Lincoln and all this stuff for abolishing slavery. And then you find out later, if you're smart enough and you realize that it had nothing to do with slavery. It's about, creating this, creating the Union to solidify it in a sense, because the Southern states were just separatists. And they were like, no, we're not going to be a part of your system. We're a republic. This state is its own sovereign entity. And they were like, no, you're not. And then so they of course, because slavery was prevalent in the South, that was the ad campaign against or for why they should go to war, was to abolish slavery. Not forgetting the fact that the North, had abolished slavery, but the atrocities that were done to the slaves up north were 10 times worse in many cases than what was done down south. And it was just a good PR, negative PR campaign to get everybody on board with, going to war, just like we were attacked on 9/11. We need to go to war. Again, we're going to war for the big banks. And you're right. And I believe that these people, and a lot of Americans, kind of feel this now, like, especially after what we saw with our election, that obviously our people that are put in power are definitely selected, not elected. That's the 100% truth. I mean, more people definitely voted for Trump. However, they wanted Biden in there. Okay. They were going to, and even though Trump talked a good game, and had attorneys, and they had all the evidence and all this stuff. They put on a show, And this is why, oddly enough, even though we were shown one thing on, on TV, or these hearings, and all these people coming forward saying, yeah, there was election fraud. This happened. This weird thing happened. That weird thing happened.
I
When it
did
got,
one on it. I showed that the
you know,
machines didn't work properly. So actually it should be recalled and the whole election should be done again. The machine should be recalled.
absolutely. No, no. I mean, if you're just going by, like, if we're going by the idea of who's more popular, who would have gotten the vote? Okay, just that basic premise. It would
Trump.
have been Trump. Yeah, Trump would have won. But the problem is that it was when it was his time to go. He was
But he's
very
part of the
silent.
game though, Scarab, because do you know in our election, right, when Boris won, what it was is I was just looking at it because this is what I do. I slow the Bitchute Channel and I look at things. And then suddenly realised that right next to the camera, you can see the cameraman is well above the camera. And then you're looking at Boris, there's only room for 2 cars. And Boris is the size, he's smaller than a child in the middle of the road, like he's a long, long way away. But he isn't, he's less than a car and a half away. He was smaller than the people on the left of him. So that's when, when I saw that, when you see these things, so he never won with an 18% majority. They lied. They made it
Yeah.
all up. They filmed it months ago. And this is what
Well,
they did to us this whole time.
right. And like the Canadian Prime Minister, a lot of Canadians are like, how did he get reelected again? Of course, these machines are, oh, this is all a sham. I mean, the sham is right there in your face, and then we call on the media to investigate properly, but they have us so damn divided all over the world and every country that you don't even care. You're just glad that your guy wins. It's like, forget the fact that we're going to talk about, like, an honest, fair. There's no such thing. They want who they want in there to do
Yeah,
to do some dirty work or whatever.
that's what I'm
And
saying. It's
what?
horrible to think there's this whole system with these
Yeah,
programs running us. It's not anything like you think it is. There is no
no,
democracy.
no, no. And then you're asking yourself, well, what is all this? What is all this about then? If it's all controlled, if it's pretty much scripted for us, and we're living it, and then we're the ones that sort of see it, and we're like, wait a minute, we're living in like some Twilight Zone shit right now. What
The
does
only
it
difference
mean?
in the films is that
What is my
you're
purpose in life
you're
then?
privy. You're privy
Yeah.
to know that those are the baddies and they're trying to control them. But the people don't understand that that is exactly what they're doing to you now today.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And this is like
And when you
this is
wake up, it
yeah.
means nothing.
Well, it's like in the first election. It's funny. This is how the role reversal is. So the Trump people I mean, a lot of people were a little shocked that Hillary lost the first, to Trump. Like when I woke up the next morning and I found out Trump was president, I was like, you gotta be kidding me. Like, not that I wanted Hillary to win. I'm just saying, like, I thought she had plenty of support to win it. I thought the votes were going to be there for her. And, there was all this push to see the first woman president and all that. And so I thought, well, it's probably be Hillary. And besides, it's a Clinton. And Clintons are very, like, strangely powerful in this world where, if you speak out against them, you die mysteriously and all kinds of stuff. So, and they seem to just get away with murder, literally. And so I figured, well, it'll probably be her. And shockingly, it was Trump. And when there was all this call of voter fraud, I showed a video. Like, it was crazy. Okay, this is insane. Like, this is how wacky this place is. So everyone in the Trump camp was like so pissed off at at Pence, because when Pence was up there, he just played that role, and he just went along with the vote count, and they said that he had the power to stop it, and to ask for a recount, and if there was enough push against this election. And yet, so they're calling him a Benedict Arnold, and they're saying, "Oh my God, he screwed us," and all this. That's their side on the right. Well, if you watch the video of when Biden was vice president, he was cold and didn't want to hear about any election fraud. Nothing. to do with that, even though for 4 years, that's all he literally talked about on television in America was Russian collusion and election fraud and this and that. But like, they were all these people that were like pushing against it. Congress, congresswomen, congressmen, they were all there saying, no, no, this vote is not legitimate. It's fraudulent. I'm speaking out against it. And he was like, nope. Do you have, he was just really like, very corporate. Okay. And it's funny to see him back then because he literally looked like he was ready to get out and move on. And Trump was going to be president. And there was nothing his party could say to him to get him to change otherwise. Exactly the same thing that happened with Pence. And I'm like, good Lord, both of these men acted almost identical. What are the odds that you would have, And so it's sort of like your chickens have come home to roost, is like they say. Okay. So you had all the Trump people, and they were just happy that Trump won. They weren't willing to look at any Russian collusion or voter fraud or nothing like that. Not even question how he got in office, just that he did. Then we have him for 4 years. And then when it comes for his turn to get reelected, all of a sudden there's all this voter fraud. And they're screaming like, oh, there's voter fraud. This is horrible. And yet at the same time, the exact same thing happened 4 years earlier, and everyone seems to forget. So here we are, and we're in this big play, the big show,
Yeah.
as we call life. And once again, it's stressing us out, pitting like this has caused so much division in families. I'm gonna tell you, in America right now, we are so divided as a nation
I think they're doing
because
it to everybody, though, that, by the
oh,
way.
it's just awful. And also, I gotta say it's awful for the rest of the world because the rest of the world is sort of unfortunately unwilling participants in our bullshit. You know, like I feel bad that I hear this from Australians and Europeans and Germans that they talk about our politics more than it's like we have become the reality TV show for the whole world. And I mean, I'm sorry, but you have your own
Well,
problems,
Boris
You don't need to
is
hear
pretty
about our
close.
bullshit all the time.
Listen,
Huh?
and when they do films when they're with Putin, they're never with Putin. So they're all in it. They're all a joke.
Every one of these guys, man, these lizards, as I like to call them, every one of these reptiles that's in power, okay, is part of a bloodline system. They have complete and utter control. And yet they pit us against each other so that we'll fight amongst each other and never come together and look at the real problem, which is all of them. This is what we're dealing with here. I mean, this world is my God, it's one deception after another. And yet
Yeah.
we fall into the trap of putting emotional energy into these things, right? And then we fight with our own family over who said what and Trump said this and oh my God, you won't believe somebody's counting all the lies. Of course he lies. He's a freaking politician. But do you think, and it's like people say, well, I'm just like you said earlier. That's why I mentioned it's like you'll say, you know what, I'm just glad Trump's not there. As if Biden's gonna be any better.
Oh
As
no,
if,
I know that Biden's
you
going to be
know,
elected, but I'm just saying I don't miss Trump.
well, yeah, but I don't want Biden. So what is our so it's
I don't
either,
want Biden.
it's either
I don't want
it's two
Boris. I don't want
it's
the
two
Queen. I
piles
don't want
of
any of them.
it's two piles of bullshit. Which one do you want to, you know, which one do you want to mess with? Either one, you just you're screwed, and it's like that's what we give. It's funny because I'd watch these debates
A
and
lot
stuff.
of people still think that
Yeah,
Trump president.
a lot of people do. A lot of people think that there's something weird going on. There's still people, and this is what I asked about the Simon guy earlier, because his group is pushing the whole QAnon narrative that there's something going on behind the scenes in the deep state. You understand the deep state stuff, right?
Mm, yeah.
The deep state, the basically they're rooting out the pedophiles, and they're they know that these people are rooted in power, and there's a secret cabal of people that's trying to expose it all and eventually bring truth to light. And it all sounds great for all of us, major truth. Of course, that's what we hinge on. We hinge on the truth. We want the truth to come to light. We want it to happen. And a lot of times it's nice to know that there's something out there, existential force that's working for the good of humanity. Don't we all want to believe that? But you know what? I'm starting to wonder now, if not, because all of these people, every one of them work for like these people that talk about the QAnon stuff. If you listen to them real carefully, they'll tell you a little bit about their history. You know, you'll find out like Simon dude, had MI5, MI6 connections in his family. And right there should be a big red flag. Let me explain. The powers that be that use these secret government agencies, um, they all want to hire in the family. It becomes a family affair. It's just like a mafia. The mafia doesn't go outside the family much. And the reason they don't is because they know that you're willing or more willing to do their bidding if you're in a family. I mean, if I turn on you, who's going to be, people I love will be affected. My father, my mother, my kids could all, unfortunately, reap the consequences of my actions. It works the same way in the intelligence network. So when Alex Jones and all these other people online tell you, that, oh, that's keyword. You got to listen to these people. When they tell you, they'll always tell you, I had family, I have an uncle, I have somebody that was in the intelligence sector. If they tell you that, boom, right there. You always question you hey, not saying that there couldn't be some people who didn't get involved, but the fact that they say that and they're willing to talk about family that's involved in it usually means to me that they're more than likely 9 times out of 10 involved with the intelligence agencies, and they're trying to promote and if you think that YouTube is safe from that, I got news for you. It is not safe from that. Hollywood, YouTube, it has intelligence running all through it, in every country. So, just beware of that. So if you've ever listened to a YouTuber you like or whatever, you think you're getting some real information and they spout out with the old my grandfather was a MI6 or whatever, just be like, mm-hmm.
It's amazing what they
Yeah.
did though, isn't it? Because that's what was talked about a bit on a hangout last night. Well, my uncle was in the war, and so I just don't know how they've done all this.
Yeah, well, what's crazy is that I used to believe that there's got to be more people awake and good and wanting, the same things I want than there are asleep. And when I watch the show The Walking Dead, and it shows hordes and hordes of zombies that are just walking and just living a life, essentially just walking the earth. That's what I'm a part of. Like the group of people that's that's in that show that's fighting for survival. I relate to that now. I never thought I would. It's literally turned into that. Like once you've gotten to a certain point, like people are literally zombies now. They watch their mainstream news. They just sit there and mill away at life and just think that this is the world. They believe all the mainstream science of it all, and they're just like, yeah, this is, you know what? And I'll tell you, a long time ago when I believed that bullshit, I was a happier person. I was much happier. I mean, I think they say ignorance is bliss. Boy, that's a true statement if there ever was one. Because what I've got to offer you is just like in the Matrix.
Yeah, all it is
When
a horror story, isn't it?
Oh, it's terrible. And all I've got to offer you is a red pill. But when you wake up, you're going to be eating gruel, and you're going to be like,
Thing is,
you're
though,
going to see a
Darren,
world that is literally that's literally destroyed. And your whole worldview is going to change. I've got nothing. Like I said, I've already told people in my circles, I said, look, I know we want to wake up people to the Mandela effect. I know you want to do it. But I'm telling you right now,
thing
all
is,
you're
it's
going
better
to
to know.
do,
I prefer to know the truth because all the other
yes.
versions, even if you don't realize it until you've woken up, takes your freedom away, making you believe things that aren't real. Like
Yeah.
spacemen and all that crap.
Oh, they
Takes your
make you.
freedom away.
Oh, they just. Did you see the Mars stuff?
Yeah, it's Egypt.
Did you see it? Yeah.
I put
Did
one
you?
up. Me and
Oh, I
James put
just
one
had a
up.
good laugh at that. That was awesome. That
We
was
put one up
great.
the other day because basically they were in Greenland and someone zoomed in on the Google Earth and there it was in the pictures. And they could see the
Well,
band and
yeah,
everything.
they go out to
It's
these
cool, man.
places. They got to go out to these places to test the rover because God forbid they couldn't build a moonlight set somewhere, right? In America, they got to go way out. They got to fly out to Greenland or whatever, test their little rover on some rocks. Like, God, give me a break. Like
NASA
whatever.
were there anyway.
Well, I just thought it was funny because the way before they used to drop these things by parachute and then they would land and then this thing would open up and then the thing would roll out. Well, now they have this device that comes down and it has a parachute, but it also has this thing tethered, and then these rockets blow the sand and shit everywhere, and then it flies off. And NASA's over there telling people, yeah, look, here's our rover. Oh, you might notice, and now they're actually making excuses for the conspiracy theorists. So as the guy says, look, see how our the what are they, like the propulsion unit, see how it when it left, it cleaned off the rover perfectly. Thanks, like, oh, sure it did. Like it blew all that dust everywhere, and there's not a speck of dust on the rover anywhere. Not a speck. It's super clean. It's just hilarious. And you're like, there's no way if you saw the videos, like, it shows these and everybody's in awe. Everyone just believes it. Everybody's like, yeah. And nobody questions it. And I don't know. I don't know what to say to people, man. They want to believe that we're going to other places like Mars and the moon and all that, then hey, more power to you, man. If you want to believe that bullshit, then you're more than welcome to. But we ain't going nowhere. And whatever's up there, if it's a dome or if it's water, I don't know. All I can tell you is like, at least from the SpaceX side of it and seeing some of the strange rockets that take off and watching them, go up in the atmosphere and make this huge plume and then they sort of like make a circle and then something comes out of the center, and then if you watch it in 4K video you'll see these weird plasma discharges, like whatever is going on. Okay, I can't tell you for sure, but if you speed up the video of these things hitting the upper atmosphere, and you'll see these, I call them space sperm. They look like giant sperm in the sky. I joke, but look it up. Like these weird rocket launches and they
Have
got
you
now.
heard of the Boogeyman channel? I don't know if they're around anymore or they've been deleted and they got a new channel, but he called them Bucky Balls up there.
Oh, here's what's interesting. So there was one of these space sperm that launched over LA. It scared everybody to death. I remember.
Oh,
I
those
remember.
things. You mean those rockets that just go on forever and they're doing
Yeah,
whatever?
they go on forever, and then they make this big like plume in the sky, and then if you watch it, this center will open up. Like they'd say, well, that's the separation thing, and they say it opens up, and then there'll be like this little like bright light or something going right down the middle. Very strange. I've seen this for years and
Yeah.
years. And well, what I'm saying to people is try this sometime. Get a video. They've got them over Russia. They got. I mean, this happens all the time. And whatever they're hitting up there, to me, strangely, looks like water. If you speed the video up and watch it, you can see the ripples in this thing as if it's going through water. Look, think of a boat on a nice smooth lake, and it jetting across the lake, and the ripples it would make. You're like, holy shit, that looks like water. So I'm just saying, not don't know for sure what's going on up there, but it appears like they're going through some sort of substrate, and I don't know. I don't know what's happening. What if up there is water suspended somehow? I don't know.
Somebody I know did scalar wave testing, and they say it's a frequency. It's at least a frequency.
Oh, I don't know. Good Lord, it's hard to say. I can just tell
The
you,
scalar waves come back immediately when you're
yeah.
doing testing, so he
Well,
knows there's something up
until
there.
Well, until I see it before my own eyes, I can't believe that that basically a pencil with some wings on it can come back down, leave it can rock, it can has enough fuel to go to space, just deploy its payload, then come back down essentially. Well, let's say high altitude, then come back down and land vertical on a landing pad. Okay. Like I find that really hard to believe that we are doing that right now with these rockets.
You know something? With what technology they've really got, rockets are the oldest thing they could use. They're not far high technology. You know, they've got many other machines and technology now. They're just playing with us, pretending that rockets are the
Have you
way
ever
to go.
seen a have you ever seen a Tesla rocket launch where um you've got people that are watching at the control center, and you got like about 100 people in there, and they just jump up and down cheering for the rocket. And it's like, you just launched a rocket. What are you so excited about? And they just really try to play it up for the cameras. And it's like, this looks like some sort of like really B-level movie. Like you guys are getting paid like about 250 bucks each. And they just, they got you all there. And of course, it's like, it's supposed to be like the new generation, like maybe the millennials or something, like, yeah, look at us. We're doing this. We're so cool and hip. And it's like they're trying to put this hipness to space, right? And I see it and I'm just like, that looks so fucking phony. If I've ever seen anything phony in my life, I'm like, oh my God. The fact that you guys are jumping, who gives a shit? We've done all this before. You settle down. What the Here's my problem. I think it's like they're I'd almost say, if you ever met somebody who's a master at his craft, doesn't matter what craft it is, no matter if it's a cook, doesn't matter if it's a guy that you know um, drives a bus. If you told him, "Hey, man, I need you to drive this bus to a new city," or "Hey, here's a cook, I need you to do this new recipe," and they did it, what do you think they would act like? They would be like, "Yeah, I know that because I'm skilled. I know what I can do. I'm confident in my approach to this." There's no way in hell you're going to be jumping up and down, acting like an a-hole, watching a rocket launch when, like, it's been done over and over and over, right? It's also been to Mars. It's also been to Mars. It's been to Pluto. It's been to Saturn, Jupiter. They've been to the moon. Why would they be acting so excited for the cameras jumping up and down?
And
Like
they've lost
it's
all the stuff to the moon.
Yeah, it's like they're posers or something, man. I mean, like that's just maybe from the 80s, but it's like a pose. It's like somebody just pretending to like really trump up their their prowess in something. And it's like, that's not the way somebody who is a master at something, which by the way, you would say NASA or any of these companies by now has mastered this. Like it should be like, they should just be like, yeah, a little thumbs up, maybe, a little, yeah, we're just doing our job. But instead, they always jump up and cheer and like, yay, look what we did. It's the goofiest thing ever. It's like, and people buy that crap. It's like they don't even see it. It's like, well, what's wrong with you, Dan? Why well, Dan, they're just happy about their accomplishment. I know, but if you're good at what you do and you're confident in what you do, you don't get excited as if you're like, yeah, thank God we didn't crash the thing.
But that's
No,
all
you
done
you
for us, isn't it? Yeah, it
yeah,
looks like
it's all
it all
the
looks like it's
yay.
real.
Look at us. Look at the human. Look at how innovative we are. Look at the human experience. We're doing it, people. We're yes, jump up and down with us. It's like, oh my God, dude, you guys are just lying sacks of shit. Sorry, I don't mean to cuss. But they are. They're just
That's
a bunch
true
of
though.
liars, man. Like, there's no way that shit is going down the way they say it is. And if the few people that might believe it, and this is the thing, this is the crazy part, right? So then you have to ask yourself, how many people are really in on this? Like, how many people really believe? Like, I think they just have people that work there that look at a screen and see the data and expect the data to be real. And then they probably tell them, look, for the camera, we need you to be real excited because, it helps, really promote NASA and stuff. Can you do that? Yeah, sure. You're paying me 120,000 a year. I'll do whatever you want because I'm a sellout, completely in the matrix type of person. Okay. I'll do whatever. Not even asking the question as to like, why are they Why are they wanting me to do this? But there's people that don't care, you know, they just want theirs. They're easily manipulated, easily, they bought into the system, and that's what they want to do. You know, they want to, continue to get that fat check, and they're willing to do and go along with the program. That's basically what it comes down to, you know. They're not willing to buck the system and ask questions like, why are they asking me to, act different on television? They don't care. That's not really what they're doing. So I think most people
You know, it's
don't
like
know.
we're living in the Adjustment Bureau. That was a
Oh
film.
my God. Oh, the Adjustment Bureau is I believe there's bits in truth in all this stuff. The
Yeah,
Adjustment Bureau is 100% um correct in a lot of ways.
yeah.
I don't know that they can move through doorways and, just to circumvent the city, like, and transverse the city that quickly. However, I do believe, if you look at the power structure, you look at the people that are involved in it, there definitely seems to be this existential force out there that is controlling humanity,
Mm.
that has, that where who they are. Like all the people we see, and we're always like, it's the Rothschilds, it's the Bilderbergers. You know what? They're the front men for the Illuminati. They're the front men for evil. The real people that are controlling things, you don't know them. You wouldn't you wouldn't even know them if you walked up to them. You're never gonna know who they are. It's like I think like I think another movie too is like John Wick. Did you ever see John Wick?
Not sure. I don't always
Oh,
remember. I don't always
that's
remember
good.
people's names.
Keanu Reeves of all people, Mr.
Right.
Matrix, right?
Mm.
So he's an assassin for this really elite group of people, but he wants to get out. He wants to quit doing it. He has a unique set of skills, you know. It's kind of cheesy because every shot that he takes with his gun, he just he just shoots people in the head. I mean, it's he never misses. I guess he's whatever. He's been trained. Um, but nonetheless, he wants to get out, but he can't get out because things keep happening to him, and he's like forced to get revenge. And then the problem with revenge is, and people get pissed because you got revenge, and they want to get revenge on you. So you got to, you got part 1 through 4 now, I think. So it's just been one I'm going to get you back moment after another. But in the movie, he works with these really powerful people, and this one guy, he kind of commits the ultimate sin, which is killing somebody. Again, there's certain rules they go by, right? It's almost like a commandment sort of thing. And one of the rules is you cannot kill one of the members or part of the group when you're on certain property. It's like these safe zones where men can go in there and you can have a drink and talk to your enemy and try to work things out. Now, once you're off the property, you know, anything happens, anything goes. But he's so pissed off, he just walks in there and just blows the guy away. He's like, all right, that's it. I'm taking care of this guy. So then next scene you see where one of the main guys is like, we're coming after you in 72 hours or something like that. And so he's at a park and they meet in like a, pretty busy area where people are walking around. And then as he's talking to this guy, everyone stops in the park. Like hundreds of people stop and they look at him and they all stare at him at that moment. And then when the guy walks away after telling him, you got 72 hours to get your affairs in order and we're coming after you, you're probably going to die. So, whatever you need to do. Then everyone begins just meandering along, just like there was nothing like, it's almost like if you put a pause button on reality, they pause reality. And like, it's like, man, the fact that like you're dealing with something with that much control, like it's sort of, and I'm saying that could happen, but I think it's sort of a metaphor to the power that they have over us and most people. That one scene right there spoke volumes to me. I mean, the rest of the movie's cheap, and they pay in gold too. Like that's another interesting aspect is like every time they do their dealing, they don't use cash. No, they pay in gold coins. Anytime they need a guy knocked off, it's gold. Anytime, they tip a guy, it's gold. See what I'm saying? And I remember hearing this long time ago from a guy that said that the elites, the real elites, only deal in gold. That's their currency, not money. That's the shit that we play with, the shit with no value.
Yeah, we're
They
playing
deal
a
in gold.
Monopoly game, aren't we?
Yeah, we're playing the Monopoly game. Exactly. And they own the board. Okay. Um, this is what we have to realize, what we're up against. I've got nothing in the way of this is why Lord have mercy for all of us. I'm serious. Like when I see this world and I see the control structure that we're up against, and I see like everything that is taking place, I'm gonna tell you right now, we're a very small minority of voices, and nobody is gonna listen to us. And I remember years ago, listening to a broadcast, Dr. Richard Day recounting his talk with another guy that spoke to the Illuminati guy that was telling him what the future held for us. And this was in 1968. And this guy laid it all out. He said, you know what we're going to do? We're going to process your food. You're going to eat out of, this is before like microwaves were big and all this stuff and processed food and eating like that. He said, we're going to do all this. And if you're too stupid and you don't know, then you deserve to die. That was their whole premise. They even said that we're going to change the Bible. They said, we're going to change the Bible. We're going to change the words in it because it needs to be changed and updated. So we're going to do that. And he said, and this was what got me because I was like, that's Mandela. Because we've all been saying the words are different in the Bible and they have different meanings. What's going on? But this guy swears that they were going to do it. And I thought to myself, well, there's no way you can do it because we have old Bibles. We can go back to our old Bibles and we can see what the original text was. So you can't really like change them. But what he said was, we're going to change them. And the very few people that even recognize it, nobody will listen to you anyway. And damn if he wasn't right. In 1960 freaking 8, okay? These people, this control system, this is a matrix. Okay, I don't know how it works. I don't know how it's all put together, but I'm
Yeah,
here to
I know
tell you, as
it's
God
that,
is
but
my witness,
I
this
don't
is
know
a
how it works.
matrix.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
this
agree with
is.
you.
Yeah, and there's only very few of us, seriously. I mean, literally, we're talking worldwide here. I'm talking, there's literally just a handful of us that are awake enough to fucking see this. Like the rest of us are just not there. People, the cognitive dissonance is that's a monkey that's really hard to get off your back because you have to be willing to be that crazy person that's like, no, no, this is what's happening. And you know what? You're like a small voice in a huge wilderness of people that are just willing, just cannot see. And I don't know what that means for us. Like, because what do we do? Like, we're out here today, they let us talk all we want and share stuff. The problem is, to wake the masses up, unfortunately, it's going to take more than one video. It took me, literally a lifetime. Okay. And I consider myself a pretty smart person, but it still, I mean, it took a lot of pain, a lot of struggle to get to the point where I was like, oh my God, okay, here's what's happening. Here's what's going on. And then they playing us on both sides, right? Because on one hand, we see the evil and the corruption in the matrix, and then we think, okay, then there's truthers, and then the truthers, if you don't think the truthers are compromised with their misdirect, of course they are. There's so many channels out there like that I'm telling you, there's just nobody's willing to, very few of us are willing to go beyond even the scope of truth to really dig down and find out what's really happening here. And I can't even tell you to this day because I've dealt with the Mandela effect. Whatever is happening, okay, reality changing, memories being erased, people literally changing overnight. I've seen that. I mean, when you see a map and you can literally tell that physical reality is being compressed, what the hell forces are we up against? I mean,
I don't know if I can put
who
it into words.
exactly? That's what I'm talking about. Like we're at. I mean, oh my lord! They say that the road to heaven, okay, is long and narrow. Basically, there's very few people, man, that have the intestinal fortitude to stay in this fight as long as we have. This has not been yeah, I've lost everything materially doing this. Everything. Lost my business. I lost my relationship. I lost, like it's this isn't like what do I have to offer someone by waking them up? Like the way I see it is only a few people are going to understand in this lifetime what's really going on. And may God help us all because I don't know. Like there's so many people like I think we had a time maybe a few years ago like when things were sort of ramping up and conspiracies and the ideas of were out there in full force in YouTube. In fact, they used to complain, if you remember, they would say, "Oh my God, the conspiracy theorists are the most popular thing on YouTube." There was a time when people were waking up, but I remember this happened in right after 2001, and I remember looking at this is how I woke up because I started noticing these strange patterns with people and one of the patterns I noticed was that after 2001, we didn't have an economic downfall until 2008. So we had many years of prosperity, money and everything else. And everyone was buying houses and had cars and had money and had jobs. And we were just rocking right along and the war was raging. And, yeah, so there was just a lot happening. It was a fervent pace in America. I remember this. But at the same time, we all had the stuff we want, right? We all have everything they tell us that makes us, happy in life. Oh, we have our mortgage and our car and our stuff, and we should be happy. But then why was it literally like one out of every three people I met was taking some sort of Prozac or some sort of mood enhancer because of depression? What
It's
was it? You
Scarab.
know what that was? That was spiritual. And the thing is they gave us those drugs. Okay. They gave people those drugs to kill the spiritual awakening that was starting to happen in people. Yes.
I put a video out on Sun and Moon about that. It's very sad actually because this really lovely guy Stan Smith died. He was only 37. He just like turned off. He obviously had a headache, went to bed, he didn't wake up. But what it was is through talking about him, then a friend of his on his channel was this video. It says all put back in the box. And no matter which way it happens, money goes back in the box, everything goes back in the box, including you at the end of the day. So you have to learn what's more important because it all goes back in the box.
Yeah, because you can't take it with you.
No.
But it's weird because the Egyptians thought you were coming back. That's kind of weird, isn't it? The Egyptians, they would bury you with all your possessions and stuff like that, so that like as if you were coming back. Isn't that weird? They would not to say that the pyramids were tombs. That's a bunch of BS. There's something else there, but they buried you a lot of people in their own tomb
Why
away
didn't they
from.
just tell us the truth? I mean, do you know what? I put a video out very
Mhm.
recently, yesterday, I think it was. And basically, I was out with my friend who's an archaeologist. And she basically said, well, yeah, this building was a pagan building before it was a church. But it looks just like one of these old churches. And it
Mm.
made me realise with what the Tsar of Russia was doing and everything, that they probably only brought churches in them sort of. That's why you can't find tombstones in them, because when you do in the 1800s, 1860, whatever it is, that's the reason that because they were turned into churches then, but only then they were pagan buildings like the Notre Dame, Westminster Abbey, all these big they were all pagan buildings. And you're like, why couldn't they just tell us?
Well, the reason, and I mean, the only way I can describe it is the reason we have good and evil in this world. We have love and hate, fire and ice. The reason all this exists, okay, because it keeps you grounded to this reality. You know, I often think, and the reason I go back to the Bible is because there are quotes in the Bible that are so profound that really like mean a lot today. And in John, he talks about don't be lovers of this world because it's literally a false reality. Okay. In the Bible, it states this. It's like, don't, this is the lie. Okay. This world is the lie. Do not be lovers of this world. And we often read these passages like, yeah, okay, yeah, don't, don't love your, like, don't be materialistic. Well, no, but people do. People, they hinge everything they are on their stuff that they own and things like that. And like, it's just, it's absolutely, incredible how they've manipulated us into really falling for the material world lie. In fact, often I don't believe in, I don't think that Gaia and all these other things that are out there are talking true spirituality of the heart. I think that they talk a good game and it sounds really good to listen to sometimes, but then they're always going to lean on the aliens are coming to save us, whatever stuff. It's like, okay, maybe. Okay. Like, but what are the aliens? Like, is that just another level of the deception? I mean, if you're, listen, if these things are so good, then explain anal probing. You know, I mean, why? I'm sorry. There's no reason to probe if you're here for a good
We
purpose.
are
That's
an
all I'm saying.
experiment.
Exactly. So in these things, these aliens or whatever, we don't even know what they are. If they're actually, some sort of being that's in another dimension, that's actually, and is that what the whole CERN thing is? Are they opening up a doorway to a different dimension so these things can come in? Is this the abyss that was written in the Bible that they talked about? They're going to open up the abyss where these things are. Well, it sure, certainly seems like it to me. You remember the movie Contact with Jodie Foster? I just watched that the other day. I was like, holy shit, yeah, look at that. So we get a signal. Humanity gets a signal. We decode the signal. All these scientists are rushing to build this machine, and they send Jodie through it, and she meets the aliens who are basically shapeshifters and can explaining to her. And it seems like all so great and wonderful, and you're like, yeah, okay. But like, is that what they did to us in the past? Before that, did we get in contact with something that gave us direction to build a what? To spend billions of
It almost
dollars
feels like
building
in
a
the film
machine,
The Time
building a machine that
Machine. When
does
you the
what?
Time Machine, and that when they do the dong and all the people go off and then they go and get eaten. It's sort of something like that
Well,
with
that's another thing too. Is like, what do you guys do? If CERN is an open source thing where everyone can benefit from like in humanity by its data, right? Because it's open source and we can all see what it's doing, and we all revel in the fact that we're learning more through science. Then why the hell do you want the Russians, Chinese, and other people? Why are they building their own machines then? If that's all it does is smash particles. Get it? You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm sorry, but no company, nobody would do it if someone are like spent the money on it and is open sourcing it like CERN is, supposedly. So what else is it doing? Why is Shiva statue out there? Why are you a god of destruction? Why are you just, is that part of the script? Are you just trying to make it ooga booga, scare everybody to death? Or is it, a little bit of predictive
we
programming?
already know, don't we, that when we look at those Victorian pictures of the people with horses and carts, they don't fit into their surrounding.
But listen, like,
Those people did not make those buildings. So the whole thing is crazy, isn't it? It's just bananas. I don't like the fact we can't work it out.
oh, well, then you look at some of the buildings that were literally standing there, beautiful, beautiful buildings, and supposedly they just tore them down. They just tear these buildings down, these massive structures made of marble and beautiful buildings. Why would you tear them down? Like, what was the purpose of tearing down a building like that? I mean, some of these are just absolutely gorgeous. There was a building made out of completely iron and glass, there, I think in France or England, and it just burned to the ground one day. How do you burn a building made out of iron and glass? You see what I'm saying? It's like those California fires. They're so strange. And the ones that happen in Australia. And it's like these fires burn so hot, yet they seem directed. And everybody's like, it's a direct energy weapon. Could be, but from what? From our government or from something else? Something the controllers or the whatever the hell, the archons or the you name them. Who are they? Who is really at the helm? in this world? You know, who is really directing us and directing humanity? Like I said, I mean, in the last, I can't believe it, but I would say almost in the last 10 years, we've just gotten more and more um, distant as far as our connection to each other. And then we have the global pandemic, and then we're supposed to stay away from each other. We're supposed to wear the mask. That mask is meant to take away any human emotion or any connection that you might have with somebody on a spiritual level. I'm telling you right now, that is a direct attack on spirituality.
It's really weird, isn't it? Because you also said as well that Biden's that kind of person, very unemotional.
Oh yeah, very, very,
Weird.
very. Yeah, yeah. There's so much going on in the world right now, and I feel like we're coming to a precipice where, you know, those that are, I mean, I'm sorry, but I pray like I get. I mean, I know it's gonna sound very, you know, religious or whatever, but I pray there is a rapture. I pray there is. I this is not the world that I remember. And it's literally daily transforming into something that I cannot stand. I cannot stomach where we're going. Okay, with all this with everything. Everything from social media to politics to this the way that people are treating each other now, this, you know, disgusting, um, you know, lockdown stuff that's going on with it sickens me. Okay, that we're I feel a lack of connection with everyone out there, and thank God I can still get out there and talk and share this information with the few thousand people and subscribers that I got remaining, you know, because I'm going to tell you, you know, my channel, you know, looks good and all. It hasn't. I've only been struck once, but it could come at any time. I mean, when they want to take you down, they'll take you down. They can go back and find something and just make it up as they go if they want to take me out. Just by the grace of God, I'm still here. And I tell you what, I know that when I go to sleep at night, I'm hoping that it's just like some sort of like this turns out to be just a bad dream one day. You know, like I wake up and I remember this world, but it sort of just fades away, like you were just experiencing something on the tune of a very vivid dream. You know what I'm talking about? A very vivid dream where you're in another world and you're experiencing things, and you wake up and you remember it, but it's just it fades away. And I think that's kind of, you know, how I see I think all of it kind of happens for us, you know. I don't know. I think ultimately we come to that point, whether through death or maybe some sort of transference. I don't know. It just seems like that to me seems more truthful than anything, is that we're gonna wake up one day and we're going to look back at the time that we were here, okay, and just be in awe over the experience that we had. Okay, my hope is that in reality that this life and the education that we get here and the experiences we get here are for each individual soul that is on the earth today. And I hope that one day we wake up and we realize our true nature, and we look upon these moments and the time we spent here as a learning experience. And that is my hope for humanity, that as crazy as it's getting, it's all a dream anyway.
We're all dreaming together then.
Exactly. That's my hope, because it would make sense that maybe the dream has just gotten a little bit out
Don't
of
know, when you
whack.
wake up, you realise
I don't know
everything's
who took
wrong.
acid.
And you feel
I don't
like,
know who took acid in my dream, but
yeah, but
somebody,
you
whoever that
realise
is,
it's almost like, well, I'm in the wrong
yeah,
place. Everything's wrong.
uh, everything's wrong, and people are wrong, and people aren't acting right, and like we're being like led emotionally by me. I mean, turn off the TVs, people. Turn off all of it. Get away from it. And I would say, you know, you got to look at yourself. When you can, when you reach a certain level, I'll tell you how it's done. you'll be sitting there and you'll start to envision yourself. You'll start to think of who you were before you were part of this physical reality. And for a split second, okay, everything will feel like you're literally just hanging in space. There will be nothing around you, okay? And you'll experience the oneness of you and how you are connected with God, okay? And when you do that, when you can experience that, that's when you know you've reached a certain level. Okay, it's very scary too, because when you start thinking about the the nature of
You have
which
to
the
know who you are. That really helps.
yeah,
That really helps.
yeah, it does
If
help.
you don't know
And
who you are, nothing is ever going to work out for you.
yeah, it's hard to describe the feeling actually, even now, because I know I've put my remove the physical nature of everything around me for a split second, and you just feel but you have to think of yourself as like who you're really connected. What were you before you were you? You have to put yourself in that mindset. And once you do, you start to realize that this whole construct, everything that we worry about, it's like the Truman Show. There's a construct that was created for you. You know, you're part of it. You and
That's
me and
right. In the Truman Show as well.
yeah, of course. Yeah. And there's people and there's and I think that they give us the fear and they give us the negative side because amongst the light, if it were just pure light, there would be void of the light. So you have to have the shadow as well to give things shape. It has to, that's part of life, unfortunately. And we,
It's vibrations.
sure, well, there's vibration, absolutely, but it depends on how you want to. For a time period, people may want to choose to wear the black hat. They wear the black hat for a while, and they and 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 people poorly anymore. I want to be better. I want to reach out. And then those people tend to be some of the
The
best
sad thing
when
is,
it comes to yeah.
Scarab, that's what people think the government are there for today, to do that very thing, and they're not doing it at all.
The government is just here to rule over us and to create a system of fear so that we continue to the fear unfortunately pushes us back into the existence or the thought of making this life more what do I want to say? Making it more believable. Unfortunately, we need everything was perfect all the time for us, unfortunately, we would just probably take advantage of the opportunities that we have, and we would become just we'd run around and we would never find a median point to life. I believe that unfortunately the darkness exists for the simple, if we're talking about the game and we're talking about the deception and everything that plays out, I say the darkness exists because I think they put that out there because they want it's a way of sort of you know it's like hurting us in a certain sense, keeping us on a certain path in a certain direction. We don't want to go down that road because there's darkness over there, and that's probably not something I want to be a part of. We make those choices. Then some people might say, you know what, I kind of like the darkness. I want to look at that a little bit further. I want to peer into it. And as they say, the longer you stare into the darkness, there's a good chance that something will stare at you back. And when that does, well, then that probably pushes you back toward the light. So that's what I'm saying, is it's sort of a give and take effect through life. We all go through these ups and downs in the roller coaster. And it's just all a part about, it's all about being a part of this existence. And that's what gives this existence, that's what makes it feel so real. You know, the negative sides too, unfortunately. But that's what That's what happens. And then so when you become a more enlightened person, you start to realize it. Well, of course, you're going to focus more on the light. Well, you want to vibrate more positively. And that's what this is all about, increasing your spiritual development. And I believe that this is what, for a lot of people, this is what it is. And so I tell people all the time, those people that experience the Mandela effect and experience all these strange things and supernatural and paranormal and whatever, you know, those things are happening sometimes to all of us. I think as a way of helping us understand that reality is malleable and it can change, in a blink of an eye. And people ask me, "Well, Dan, don't you want to wake the others up? Don't you want them?" It's like I would love to wake the others up. Okay, I would love to just put my message out there and everyone just understand what I'm saying. But I believe that there's a lot of people that even if they listen to this message, they would be offended by it or turned off by it, or they would, not understand it and they would just look away. And there's certain people that are on different paths spiritually. That's just the way it is. I think that there's
That's the
new
sad
souls
thing
and
with
old
those
souls.
that have woken up and those that are empaths. We all want everybody to come with us, but
Sure, we
they're
do.
not going. They're not going to, and we can't wake everyone up. My own
No,
family treat me horribly because
I bet they
they
do.
think I'm the sick one,
I
and
know.
actually it's them who aren't awake enough.
Oh, I know. I know. And they're not
And then
willing
they
to
put all that
just.
like you said, that narcissistic stuff all over you. And then, to me, it was I really realised what that word was with my last boyfriend. But
Hmm.
my mum and dad are it. Some of my kids are it. It's just it's
I
my
know.
friends. I just anyway, yeah.
It's a very hard thing, right? And that's what I'm telling you. It's like when I tell people about waking others up, I'm like, you'll know who wants to be woken because you can get around a person who you can sense that they're the same cut of the same spiritual cloth. You'll sense that, okay? And you'll know just by the reaction to what you're saying that their spirit just begins to light up and you can feel it. And when you feel that, then you know that
Yeah,
you've
I think
created a bond.
your own electromagnetic field tells you. You know it.
Yes. 100%. That is absolutely true. And I've met people like that, and it's an amazing experience when you really meet someone who's awake and alive, and is like if it be a vibrational thing, or I don't know how to describe it. You can sense it, and I've been around, and then you're around other people, that they're just they couldn't handle it. Your worldview on things and the way you see things and the way we approach it. It's just not in their nomenclature at all. They can't um they can't get over or see what you see. It's just the way it is. And I thought forever that I could call my family and share with them the memories that I had of a past world in the Mandela effect. And I thought, I'm going to wake everyone up and I'm going to call. And I found more and more and more. Most people didn't even care. They were Mandela affected, but it didn't even bother them that their memories had been
Yeah,
changed.
that's exactly
They
what they wanted, though, isn't it? Because now they've got a whole set of people who don't care.
So what's funny about it is they'll sit back in their nice homes or, looking at their bank accounts and they'll think, I'm somebody and I made it. And, you know, I'm I'm glad I'm not, maybe they think this. Maybe they're like, I'm glad I'm not Dan. I'm glad I'm not, you know, thinking on that level because, look at his world falling apart. It's funny. A lot of people think that when your world falls apart, that's just that's you as a failure because he may not own much or he may not have the things that other people have because he hasn't gone out there and worked enough or he didn't invest enough or he didn't sell. And it's like at the end of the day, okay, when that day comes and we're all at that moment where we're gonna leave here, okay, we're all leaving, all right, that moment, what does it matter? What does it really matter? It doesn't matter one bit, does it? I mean, you can leave back. What's your legacy? What? A brick house? that can be blown over by any storm? I mean, what is there's
Yeah.
nothing that you've got that can't be taken away. And it's funny because people think, I own this, I own that. No, you don't. You think you own your house? Well, stop paying the taxes. See what happens to your house. Stop paying the registration on your car. See what happens to your car. They'll come tow it away. You don't own anything. Like, even the littlest thing that you think you might own a few things you can pick up, but as far as like bigger things and stuff like that, the government always has something over you that it can get it from you whenever they want it. They can now get it by, by saying that, oh, we need to build a road here. So we gotta take your house. We'll give you money for it, but we're taking it. You don't own that. I mean, so um that's kind of the world that we're living in. And people like think that somehow that sort of status makes them more important than others because of the material possessions they own. And
That's
I
back
think,
to what you were talking about at the beginning, about the ego, those that think they're more important than anyone else.
don't they though? And it's funny because you have to ask yourself who you are. Okay. Those who are listening right now, the biggest question you can ask yourself, and the one thing that how I would approach it is this, is if given the opportunity to be anybody else in the world in your certain situation and everything, knowing who you are as a soul, as a spirit, would you be willing to give it all away to be somebody else and have their wealth and their power and all that? I mean, I would imagine most of your audience is going to laugh and say, absolutely not. I thank you very much. I would much rather be me and be who I am than be somebody else. But the people who are narcissistic and egotistical and are so caught up in this, many of them, that's what they strive for. They want to be like something else. They want to be somebody else. They want to attain the riches and the fame and all that stuff of the worldly construct. And I got to tell you, if you're willing to give that up and quote sell your soul for that, then that's your choice. I'd rather die penniless and poor and with nothing except the shirt on my back, knowing who I am and knowing that, that I stood up and I did the right thing and I spoke out for truth. Because in the long run, that's all that matters is the truth. When it comes down to that final moment where you're here and, and then you're not, okay, the moment of death, what do you think matters most? The stuff that you attained or the truth that's in your heart? And that would be the message I would have for people is stay
So
with
I think it's actually from a film. It was actually Demi Moore and Gary Oldman in The Scarlet Letter. But at the very end, the daughter says, um, basically, the love that's in my parents is in my children and in my children and in my children's children. It goes like that.
right. Yeah.
So that's what you can pass on
Yeah.
somehow.
You can pass on the knowledge. Knowledge is more important to pass on than the material, in my opinion. And I just think that, in this world and this in the just the nature of how people react to things here and what they put more value on, it's kind of sad that we're here in this moment. But I do believe that I don't think that this world can exist or continue on the way it's going. Humanity cannot thrive in this system of being shut out spiritually and emotionally the way it's being done right now. And the separation between people and everything that we see is like, I pray, I pray that God intervenes because we do need help, and I think that I don't think there's enough of us to really see the bigger problem. I think there's enough of us to create a problem with chaos and that people would buy into that chaos. And they always say that
Do
Novus
you
Order.
think we've ever had any peace and harmony and wonderfulness, or do you think we've never ever been there? There's always talking about wars in
No.
the past. There's always a
Well, I mean,
war.
it's always been there. I mean, the only, like, I think that this fallen world, okay, the connection, it's always described as like the broken pillar. in masonry, like that was the pillar to God, and it got broken, right? And it got severed. And so we are the fallen world. We are, um we're not a spirit quite. We're not in the abyss and we're not in heaven. We're in the middle. And this is the battle between light and dark. And this is what we fight constantly. And so, I think at one time there probably was peace here, but somewhere down the line, um, I don't know when it happened or how exactly happened. I mean, the Bible states it was the fall of man, and the quest for knowledge and understanding the metaphor of the garden, where it speaks of, Eve and, and all this stuff. But a lot of people say, oh, they're putting that on women. And it's like, well, not really. I mean, it was, both of them. But at the same time, what I'm trying to say, it's a metaphor. It's a metaphor for men's quest for the higher understanding and knowledge, but it led them down a darker road, led them down a path, and we were deceived. Okay, we were deceived, and then of course there was the separation, the broken pillar and the separation, God, and bringing forth the flood. Because if you understand the story of the Bible, it makes perfect sense. And they also say that, there's nothing new under the sun. So that would state that everything we see today has happened before. There's been a cycle. Mankind thrives. There's a moment of its inception. It thrives and then it's renewed again and then has a chance to grow again. And like the cycles continue to happen over and over. And I kind of think, it's not really stated, but I kind of think that, that we don't, it's not just one incarnation that we experience life here. I believe we experience many incarnations because I think there's so much to learn spiritually to bring ourselves closer to God. I think that more likely than not, you're going to probably live an earthly life more than once. And I know a lot of people are like, oh, that's Dan, you can't say that if you think like, if you read the Bible and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, I'm only going by the fact that listen, I don't believe in the one and done because if you come here, okay, and and you see this trap, like it's really hard to get out of it. Like it's really hard to break through and to build yourself up spiritually in one lifetime. I mean, I don't know if I've only had one lifetime here. I'll be honest with you. I have memories as a child of this place. And I remember being in awe of it when I was like about, 4 or 5 years old and looking out the window and just being amazed at what I was seeing. And I don't understand why I was so amazed. Like I'd seen it before. And I also remember there was a moment where I remember waking up as a young child and feeling like I had just come back home. Like I'm back. Like, oh my God, like I've done this before, and I was really excited
I
to
had these
start over
moments
again.
where it's a bit like I'm standing there and it's like suddenly something goes clonk and it's like,
Yeah,
oh, did I go somewhere? And I've come
right.
back.
Yeah,
I wouldn't know
yeah.
where I've gone. And it would, did I go
Well,
for 20 years or 2 seconds or didn't I go at all? Did my mind go
well,
blink? I don't know.
well. Well, the weird thing about the Mandela effect is that in a blink of an eye, the world can change. So I hang on the hope that in a blink of an eye, it can all change for the better too. Although it does seem like we've just been sort of going down this, like like it's like we've been on a train and the tracks are out and all of us are like trying to stop the train, but the conductor now has decided to bail on us and we're watching it. So we're coming over that cliff and it's like, oh my God, how do we slow this thing down? And that's kind of our feeling that we have in the last, for the last while anyway, right? We see this thing sort of like uh, basically going off a cliff and just the way we're going, because I feel like there has to be some major event that's coming in my heart. Like i I predicted the pandemic in 2019 in May, when my friend asked me, he said, what do you see coming in the near future? I said, there's going to be something that's going to change the world on a global level that's coming at the end of the year. the first of 2000 or 2020, and I don't remember telling him that. Like between you and me, like when I talk, sometimes I don't even realize where or what I'm saying. I'm just going with my spiritual intuition most of the time. So he asked me a question, and I just apparently told him, and I didn't even realize it until he didn't even. I mean, I don't think he realized it. He was listening to some old audio, and the funny part is he's he recorded me without my knowledge. I didn't even know he was recording our conversation. We were having just a tele conversation, right? And he recorded it, and I was like, oh, okay. Well, I didn't really mind because I always tell everybody I will say whatever I say to anybody, and I don't mind if I'm recorded or not, because in all honesty, I live by a rule that states that if you're going to say anything or speak anything, make sure you're willing to speak it in front of anybody. You know what I mean? Like, so what I'm trying to say is I don't hide anything. I'm always like open to what my thought process
Yeah.
is, and I just try to live by that because I think it's an honest approach to life. But apparently I did say that there would be a major event, and it would change the world that was coming. I didn't tell him what it was. I just said that there's an event. There's something about to happen. And it did. Okay. And so I was like, wow, that's kind of weird, a little prophetic there. I was like, okay, well, that's interesting. I was like, okay, whatever. So I've always had these
Hey,
like
Scarab.
thoughts.
Scarab,
Yeah.
the moment I saw it, I did the same.
Did you really?
I was a bit later on, but once I saw it, I
Mm-hmm.
said, everybody, what's this?
Mm. Yeah. Well, and now we're here. And then I look back and, it's weird. Like it's like the 9/11 stuff. Prior to 9/11, you could see the predictive programming of the towers being hit in cartoons, in popular TV shows, mentioning this and that. Of course, you know about the connection with the Back to the Future, with
Not
Marty and
just
the.
that, it's in a film where this plane hit the Twin Towers.
Yeah, well, then what? 6 months prior, there was a TV show with the exact same scenario of a terrorist attack to then bring forth the idea that we were, basically that planes were hijacked and flown into the World Trade Center, and then we go to war because they need to fund, the military and this and that. And it's like the whole concept literally ran 6 months prior, like on a TV show, right? A spinoff of the X-Files. We all know about this. But when you go back and you look at like the pandemic stuff, well, that was also mentioned. It's been mentioned in cartoons, and Fauci even said that the pandemic was coming in
It's in
2017.
many films as well.
Oh yeah, it's always out there. It's just like, but it's like, what do you watch to catch it? It's like, it's weird, right? Like you just from time to time you catch little snippets, but you have to be watching that show in that episode or whatever to see it. But there's too much predictive programming. People should see it just by that pattern alone in all the shows and movies and all the stuff that seems to come to fruition after the fact. People should realize there's a pattern here, and that shouldn't happen. That there's something more here at play. Okay. And so for us, we see it and we're like, oh my goodness gracious. Are you kidding me?
Because
The
we're empaths.
Simpsons.
We're empaths and things like that. Maybe they're doing it from
Yeah, but people don't
frequency.
go that far. See, what they do is they see it and they go, "Well, that's strange," and that's as far as
Maybe
they
they're
go
doing
with
it
it.
through
They're-
frequencies.
well, I don't know. I All I can tell you is that there does seem it's almost like we're getting trolled in a way. It's like they troll us and they just tell us like, look, here's what's gonna happen, just so and whether it's putting it out in the psyche or frequency or whatever, just to maybe get us prepared for the event. I felt like the 9/11 thing was sort of like there to shock us but not wake us. Like for many of us, it was meant to do that. It was meant to shock, but not really meant to knock you off kilter completely. For me, it knocked me off kilter because I felt the impact from it emotionally and spiritually that day. Like it was so heavy, the spiritual like aspects of 9/11. It was very, very, and that's what woke me up eventually. That's what knocked me. It knocked me. They went too far. Well, a lot of
That's
us.
what happened for me.
Yeah.
9/11 was where it started for me, really.
Yeah, me
And it
too.
started this day when I suddenly saw down the bottom it said NASA. I'm sorry, it said 9/11 hoax, and I thought, what? And
Hmm.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. 9/11 was a big one. I mean, I wouldn't say that I woke up immediately, but like I felt it, right? I felt a spiritual, like, what do they want to say? Like oh, what's the terminology that's used? A disturbance in the force, and I felt that. And I was like, okay, I didn't quite understand it, but I just knew that whatever happened, what I witnessed on television, I went home that day at lunch and I watched the tower fall. And I remember something made me think, like, there's something odd about all this. Why? And it didn't really dawn on me until 2003. And I, uh, I noticed at that point, like, oh my God, okay, this is when, things really started to change for me. And I'm telling you, the depression I went through, oh, it was awful. I went to the doctor. I remember going, what is wrong with me? Why do I feel this way? I just felt like so, like it was so spiritually heavy to me. And I just wanted it to end. I just wanted to feel happy and I couldn't. And I understand why people were getting on those drugs because, you know, I mean, if I'm feeling it like the degree I was, I imagine other people, and at least I was willing to kind of see. The problem with me is that whenever something like that happens to me, I don't turn away from it and just go, no, I got to go back to, keep my nose to the grindstone and just work, 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 and just it'll all go away. See, for me, when that happens, I feel like that is something that's a trigger, and I've got to like then I have to search it out. I have to study it. I have to wonder why I am experiencing this, what is causing this angst and this anxiety that I'm dealing with. And so I went through this, the research and the awakening process. Very difficult thing. And the more I looked into things, the more I found weirder and weirder stuff. And I was just like, the next thing that blew me away was like Bohemian Grove. I'm like, why the hell are there a bunch of people in suits and these elites and these dudes meeting out in the redwood forest of California, burning an owl? Like, what the hell is that all about? like it was like tons of stuff. And then I realized that, okay, okay, this is whatever it is, it's something they do and it's part of their ritualistic stuff. But, ultimately, what does it mean? I think that they give you certain things like Alex Jones, and, he cracked the case on it. He went in there and I started thinking about that. I was like, wait a minute. These are like the elites, they got bodyguards and security and they're not just gonna let some guy from Texas walk in there with and just stroll around. There's no way that happened like that. Okay. And then he just, he just he was there because people knew about it and they need to get it out there and explain it to everybody. And they had Alex put his little ooga booga on it as a way of propping him up as the guy who broke the case on Bohemian Grove. And if you really think that some Yahoo could just walk into that place with all those elites there and rich people, like, who's to say he wouldn't walk in there with a gun and kill them all or something? You know what I'm saying? Like you're saying security was that laxed? Wake up. There's no way. Okay, so that dude's been like that. That was just one aspect of that. And I realized that there's going to be a little bit of give and take with this
What do you
information,
feel is
and you
going
got
to
to look
happen
at
then?
who's giving it to you and how you're taking it. What's that?
What do you feel is going to happen then?
Mm, you mean as far as our future goes?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I kind of stated it earlier. I feel like my issue is this, is that the way they have us controlled right now and so willing to conform, thanks to what I saw with people not pushing back against the idea that viruses can somehow uh, you can protect yourself with just a piece of cloth over your face, that somehow that's going to stop a pandemic, a true pandemic, and stop you from getting sick and all the silliness. And the fact that everyone's willing to go along with that. And then now we're turning on one another, from the people that don't want to wear a mask and people who do, and then vaxxers and anti-vaxxers. And again, it's the same old rigmarole of push and pull, right? And separation. And never in my life have I seen this separation. I've never seen everyone divided by politics, social media, um, your stance on, like I said, vaccines, or whether you should wear a mask, or the idea that any of this is even real. Like, so you have all these also, let's not forget the racial stuff. You got that too. So they got like this hodgepodge of anything you want to keep us all separated and divided. And the only place that we can go to this, in my opinion, is when you read the text. Okay, when you start looking at the separation of the wheat and tares, and you start to say to yourself, what does that really mean? That there's a point, we go through a period of time, and then there's a separation of wheat and tares. Okay, there's a harvest, so to speak. And this is where, in my opinion, this is what I see happening. And I know a lot people out there, whatever, you don't, you may not trust the Bible, you may not read the
They
Bible.
do seem to be
No,
running it from via the Bible, don't they? It's very close, like
well,
their stories and stuff.
can we continue on like this? Oh, you have to ask your question, the main question. Can we continue? And the only thing I can tell you is that I've been reading the Bible off and on my whole life, and I know a little bit about scripture, a little bit, enough to be dangerous, I guess. But I can tell you about the wheat and the tares. And one of the Mandela effects is the Volkswagen logo. Remember the Volkswagen logo? Mandela effect?
Yeah, yeah. I think you said this on our last hangout, but tell it again.
Hmm.
Carry on.
Well, one day, it was one of those things that came to me. Somebody was like, oh, they were talking it up in the chat room about the Volkswagen logo, and nobody knows what it means. And yeah, I just instinctually said, it's the separation of wheat and tares. Like, what? I didn't even know what I was saying. Like, I just typed that back out, and then I went and looked it up. And I started researching. I was like, that makes perfect sense, because the tear is a V and the wheat is represented as more of a W pattern. And when you look at the grain, you can see this pattern. They look similar, but they're not quite there. And V and a W, and there's a line between the two now. Duh. It makes perfect sense. Okay. So, like, I do believe uh, that this world, if you believe in the idea that this place, this, whatever you want to believe, it's a matrix, it's a physical reality, whatever it is, it's too impossible and improbable to believe that this all came about, okay, from nothing, like somehow by statistical chance, that all of this and all this life exists. Do you understand how amazing this world really is? There has to be a creator, 100% in my book. And when I see this, the only thing I can tell you is that I do believe that creator is made out of love. And I believe that, our experience here is to help us grow spiritually, okay? To be closer and connected to that creator. And I think that there is a separation. And I think that when that separation happens, it says there'll be a new heaven and a new earth. Okay. And I believe that that will happen, because where I see humanity going is just like what I told you in the Bible earlier. There's nothing new under the sun. The floods came. Whether you want to believe the Bible or not, believe the ancients. Believe all the
Yeah,
ancient
I was telling
civilizations
you
that talked about
when I
the
came
flood.
on that we
Yeah.
had Doggerland, and Doggerland's gone. This land
Hmm.
next to England. Just look up Doggerland.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. It's like there is a renewal process that happens in our world. Now, whether you want to believe the Bible, or, whatever you subscribe to, whatever God you subscribe to, whatever. Okay, I'm just here to tell you there is a creator to this world. We can argue about who he is, or what it is, or any of that. Okay, but the bottom line is this this construct, this everything cannot work without the code of God at hand. Okay, it's deeply rooted in everything that we see. This place works too perfect in many ways for it to just be all by chance. And that's what I believe. And I believe that there is going to be a separation. And I believe that maybe I was right in the beginning when I said, and I'm not, listen, I am not a Bible thumper. I'm not anything like that. In fact, I question all of that stuff because I never take anything at face value. I'm always like, well, why should I believe it? Why, let me look in this, deeper. Revelations in the Bible, the very word itself, revelations. Many people think it means the great change or the apocalypse. Okay. It's because it's the revealing of what which was once hidden. But the very word in the Bible has changed. Okay. It now says Revel. If you look up the definition of Revel, it's changed. Revel is a party. Revel is to celebrate. So I believe that we're coming to a great celebration because if it was the revealing, we would actually be seeing a word that says Revel, to reveal. You understand what I'm saying? The revelations. And I found plenty of evidence that it used to say revealation. Okay, the word in its context makes no sense at all. How has revelations in the Bible ever been considered a party or a celebration? Get ready because the party and the celebration is coming. And I said 5 years ago that I believe that this whole thing is part of, like, we're moving through. And like I said, I don't know if it happens exactly. I'm not trying to say that everything in the Bible is 100% exact because I have a lot of questions. But it does say that there is a tribulation time of great trouble. A time of Jacob's trouble is also mentioned in the Bible. Daniel even talked about the merging of the iron and the clay in this time period. Okay. And so what I'm trying to tell you is that what I can see happening in a not so distant future is we do not know the day nor the time, but we will know the season. And I'm telling you right now, we are in the season of the harvest of the great change that's happening. May call it the global reset or or the there's all kinds of terms people use, but I believe that's going to happen because I really don't believe what I'm seeing right now with them pushing out humanity, which I believe we're God's creation. So if you're trying to push us out and make the way for, have you seen the robots they're building? Have you seen the things that are coming down the pike?
Yeah,
I
I've,
mean,
I've
I mean,
seen a bit of that.
the Boston Dynamics stuff is scary. If anybody should be, you know what? I think Black Mirror is a documentary. I don't think that's fiction. I think Black Mirror is telling us exactly the world that's probably coming if we don't, you know, if something doesn't supersede what's going to happen. I really do. I think that's going to, and who's to say that we don't even descend to a darker period, before it gets better. But this cycle that we're a part of, this is a cycle, and this is the ending of that cycle, and we're a part of it right now, and there will be a renewing. And I believe that in the long run, those who have witnessed, who have bared witness to all this, okay, will eventually see the light of God. I just believe this. And I believe that and who knows, maybe it's a separation, a new heaven, new earth. And then, hey, if I woke up in this world with the Mandela effect, I can go to sleep, in my opinion, and wake up in a better place. And I think that's going to eventually happen. I have a distinct belief, just a belief. I'm not saying this is truth, but I have a distinct belief that in a blink of an eye, this world will change for everyone, at least those who are awake. And when you see it, you're going to be so, like, exhilarated. You're going to be like, oh my God, I can't believe that we went through all that and now we're here. And it's going to be like a celebration. That's my belief, because I've seen the world change in a blink of an eye, and I've seen it change um, horrendously bad for the last 5 years, just
For
getting
those of
worse
us
and
who
worse.
are awake, it would be absolutely amazing if they did.
The news I would say to you is good. The news I have for you is good news because this is all part, this is a weeding out process. Okay. Those who have chosen to stay awake, to stay on the path, okay, to stay righteous, okay, those are the people who will see the kingdom of heaven. All right. Those people who, who are not ready yet, okay, it's a harvest, right? We're The way I see it is like a vibrational thing. If you vibrate at a higher level, God wants you. God wants you back. God wants you closer to Him. It's sort of like, imagine you're looking at a bunch of grapes and you see the grapes that are like ripe and juicy, and and then amongst the grapes there's bad grapes. You're not going to eat them, you're not going to want them. You're just gonna, or maybe they're not. Let's not use bad, let's just use they're not ready yet. That's even a better analogy. You have some grapes that are perfect, and you have some amongst them that need to stay and ripen longer. That's kind of what I see happening, as far as a harvest goes, as far as picking the people, well, picking the souls that need to be closer to God. That's how I see it. And the ones that are uh, still left behind, okay, need to ripen some more. Okay. And I don't know what happens to the world once there is a separation, but I believe there will be. It's funny. I'm not the first person to say that either. I'd have to give credit to like Dolores Cannon. She was the one that talked about that way before I did. I didn't even know who Dolores Cannon was until the Mandela effect. And then I read up on Dolores Cannon. And I'll tell you what, that woman says some pretty profound things sometimes. I'm like, wow, blew me away, especially about the Mandela effect and about the things that were coming prior to it. She hit it spot on. So she also talked about this great separation happening too. And like, I don't know, take it how you want to take it. That's the only way I could see that humanity continues on, is that you have to start anew. You have to start with, you know, with a revival, because what we've essentially gone down and what we're essentially going towards is not going to be good for what I believe is our connection to each other, into connection to God, in the connection to the earth, in the connection to all things. I think that I think it's a false premise that they're leading us down. And I think there's a lot of people that think, oh yeah, it's all gonna be fine. No, it's not. We have separated ourselves too long. For 20 some odd years, we have literally began dividing humanity up into little sections and little compartments. And we're so divided now that I don't, it literally needs to be something biblical to get us
Do
all
they
back
want
on the
us
same track.
fighting? Is that the point? So they can bring in the home guard and stuff? Is that what it's about? Martial
They
law?
always want, well, they want that because ultimately, if we're fighting, right, amongst ourselves, we can't fight against the truth and against, we can't all come together and agree. If we can't all come together and agree, we can never create a force, to fight the real tyranny that's over us. I mean, we might all agree, like, like on some things, but like I said, the problem is that right now, I've never seen the world so divided, politically. Why do you think that our politics, our divisive politics, are pumped into every television station around the globe? Our celestial disc for you flat earthers, right? Why do you think they do that? They put our drama into your televisions. What for? Not for, you know what I'm saying? Because it literally, the idea that you support one side or the other is so powerful in America that they're using it to drive everyone apart around the world. You either for Trump or against Trump. You either love Biden or you don't. You know, that's why you see so much of our nonsense on your televisions. Not to mention, why is it that just a very small portion of the population seems to have a voice in this world, where the majority doesn't rule here? Most people just want, it's like all the problems that they worry about and they push on us, really, for the majority of the people, have nothing to do with them, you know? And it's all for, humanitarian reasons and for this and that. The idea that, see, my belief is that God is in control here. So I don't believe in this global warming like stuff. I don't believe in man-made, like I don't think mankind could do anything to to the world's atmosphere. You know what I mean? Like I find that to be completely ridiculous. That somehow we're having an effect. No, the changes,
No,
the
the
thing,
air seems to take care of things. I remember, I don't know if you've ever heard
yeah.
of the channel. They're called Peter and Pete. They did
Hmm.
experiments and stuff. But obviously, if you were sitting next to a tub of ammonia and you took the lid off or whatever, it's going to smell and do the things. But when they let it out in the open, it just becomes the air.
Well, it's kind of funny that they always talk about carbon dioxide as the big demon and the evil and all. It's really interesting. Anybody can look up these stats for yourself. What's weird is I kind of remember carbon dioxide being a higher percentage of our atmosphere. Oddly enough, if you look now, well, that sort of took care of itself because carbon dioxide is only
Ah, it's sort of another film for you now. Then it's called
point zero
Millennium.
0.04%. I mean, how do you even claim that anything is doing to the atmosphere when it's only 0.04% of the atmosphere? That's the third most prevalent gas
The new
is
film
carbon
to
dioxide.
add to the list is called Millennium. It's got Cheryl Ladd and Chris Christopherson, and they're from the future. And they come back, and then they take people off doomed crashes on aeroplanes. And the thing is, just before the planes are about to crash, they swap the bodies over. They put pretend people back in, and then
Mhm.
they send those people through a gate because their world is dying.
Oh boy. And it's called what?
Millennium. It's a 1980s film.
Oh, yes. I do remember that movie. Thank you. I've been trying to remember the name of that movie. I thought about that like a few years ago and I was like, what was that damn movie? And that's the,
Millennium.
yeah, I did see, yeah, Millennium, right?
Mm.
Uh-huh. It's
And
called
the thing is,
Millennium.
they can't change anything because if they do, they cause a paradox,
It
and then
calls a paradox.
their
Ooh,
world doesn't exist then, and it
I've
happened.
been thinking about that movie ever since the Mandela effect. Like, or
Yeah,
somewhere in the Mandela.
that's what I made my Mandela video. I used that one.
Yeah. Oh, cool. Yeah, because the paradoxal shifts in time and space, and it's sort of like it kind of it's like this. Yeah, it's sort of like a ripple effect, and of course over this is what I kind of thought, like a while back. Another theory I had was that like because people are becoming and gaining in knowledge. Okay, again, it states this in the Bible in the end times like that people would gain in knowledge. People would run to and fro, meaning we would move across, large spans of earth in record time, which we're doing right now. And but it states all this will happen. This is another sign of where we're at. Like during this time period, also states that in Timothy that don't be lovers of yourself or anything else because oh no, it states that that men would become lovers of themselves. That's what it is. They would become lovers of themselves and they become spiteful towards each other. They also said that they would that that father and son and daughter and mother would argue amongst each other, things like that. I don't know the exact. I'm just not doing it verbatim, but it's basically like we would be arguing a lot. We'd be separating. We couldn't agree on things. That there was going to be a lot of strife in humanity at that time, and it's like everything I see now is really starting to all fit. And one of the things I thought of was, when you mentioned Millennium in the movie, I started thinking like this place is so weird. Like, what if they had a way of like a looking glass type thing and they could see into the future? And then if they look into the future and they're like, okay, Hillary Clinton's president. Oof. Yeah, that's not going to end well. That girl's going to nuke everybody or something like that. Like what if they could see like the future a few years ahead, kind of like Men in a High Castle, like they have an opportunity to make adjustments and changes to a timeline because they can see it. And it would kind of like to me, I almost brought that up because I thought, almost seems like if you could see in the future and you could make different moves, those moves might seem really strange to people around you. They might be going, why is he doing that now? Why is he just bought that car? Why is he selling it? Like, but because you could see in the future, like, hey, if I'm driving this particular car on this day, this engine's going to explode. And then I'm going to end up, crashing and dying, or, so, like whatever. I'm just saying something catastrophic could happen. Like, like you could make all these moves. And it's like, this is our world today. And like, these are the things that we see. And like all these people doing all this nutty stuff and in our government and things like that. And it's almost like, are y'all like trying to change the direction of humanity because you think you're getting information about something that, and you're looking through like what I call, the looking glass. You've heard that term before. Are you looking at something? Are you seeing the future? Are
Yeah,
you
yeah,
predicting
heard
the
that
future?
before.
And this is why you had Hillary first that was going to be elected. And you're like, nope, we'll just change gears and put Trump in there because that's not going to work. And then you're like, ooh, we can't keep Trump because, yeah, we need to put somebody, let's get Biden in there. And it's like, it almost seems it's that nutty, like the way they move around, and make these decisions. So I don't know if it's true. I'm just saying it's like a theory that I had. Like, what if they could see into the future? What would you do to change it? And it almost seems like you might do a lot of weird things that people would wonder about. So, I don't know.
Hmm. Can I
Just
just say,
thoughts.
do you know how long we've been talking for? Nearly 3 hours.
Well, I believe it has been nearly 3 hours, and I think, I think my voice is probably starting to put you to sleep.
No, I've been listening to you because you like
No,
talking.
really? Okay, good. I just don't.
Yeah,
You
no,
know,
it's just
I
otherwise
I
it looks
have a
like I'm
record.
butting in all the time, and I don't like that. I'd rather listen
I
to you.
Jokingly, I do have a record. I have put at least 4 or 5 YouTubers to sleep by speaking to them on podcasts. Like they weren't the host, but they were there in the background. And then when we
Oh
come to them,
no, I love
I've
what
had
you
people snoring.
say.
Oh yeah, no, I've had. It's not. It's just. It's funny. I just seem to have this weird record. Like people like I have talked to. It's not that I say I'm boring. It's just like, but I always hear about like, oh Dan, your voice put me to sleep. I always, I hear that a lot, right? So I'm like, I always got to work. I have a superpower, and I have to be careful that I don't misuse it. Okay. So I didn't want to like, talk too long and then all of a sudden, like, you're starting to get late where you're at. I know you're about what, 6 hours ahead. And next thing I know, I just put the host to sleep, it's like, oh no. So I worry, just trying to look out for you. That's all. You gotta be careful.
Oh no, I love what you say. It's just like sometimes like on the last hangout when I listened to it, it was like I was always
Yeah.
trying to butt in all the time. But so
Right.
I'd rather listen to you and have a smoother hangout. I agree with a lot of the things you're saying.
Oh no, I know. I'm kidding about that because like one of my co-hosts one day, like we were all talking on the broadcast and he crashed out, like we went to him and he was asleep. I had a person waiting on a call, and as I was speaking, I went to them and we could hear him snoring. it's it's happened. I'm just telling you, like I have this weird thing that happens around me where people, I guess they just feel relaxed or whatever, and they just end up falling
You do
asleep.
have a very soothing voice.
Well, I'm not trying to, amplify that. I'm just trying to say, like, I was hoping that it wasn't getting too late for you. And I know I just have to remind myself, like, oh, this girl here, she's a few hours ahead. So maybe she's getting tired. So
No, I've been listening.
I know you have.
And
No,
anyway, I'm
you've
only
been.
going to repeat half the things that you do as an answer because I agree with a lot of what you say. So
Oh no, I've had a wonderful discussion with you, and then I'm just trying to mind the time because I know it's 3 here, and it's probably about, what time is it now? Is it 9 there?
it's 9 here. Strange
9.
time, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, I'm just trying to remember that because I don't get an opportunity to talk to too many people overseas. I mean, I've been in Australia before, and I've been here and there, but I'm not used to it. So I just wanted to,
Yeah, it's
you
strange for
know,
me. People used to ask, well, people just still ask me on Hangouts, but they always pick about 5 o'clock in the morning or something. But it's
mm,
always different different when you do your own hangouts and then you go on someone else's, isn't it? It is a bit different.
Well, it's more relaxing for me because then I can just talk and I don't have to worry about when I'm live. The chat is going. I've got I'm worried like I'm pulling up information or whatever. It's a lot going on. It seems like a lot more to handle, and I want to be involved with the conversation, but I sometimes I have to take a step back to run the broadcast. So I'll be honest, I enjoy these little chats. I think they're great to sit down and just, be able to talk and speak freely about what you think is going on. And like I said, I don't know anything for sure. I just have feelings and a sense about things, and that's how I see it going. I feel like we're coming to a precipice where, we're gonna see a major change in things, and I think that um, it's there's just a lot of upheaval coming, okay? But I think ultimately, where you are spiritually, if you're listening to this broadcast and you're at a level that I think most of you are that do listen, um, I don't think you have anything to worry about, you know? And I think that this physical existence is meant as a tool, okay, to help us learn and educate, and to get a better understanding of ourselves so that we're closer to God ultimately. And that's what this is all about, this whole life experience. And I think that that's where I would leave it. And I would just like to say thank you for allowing me the opportunity to speak and to again to converse with you again, and I really enjoyed it.
Oh, it's been an absolute pleasure and a delight to have you on a hangout. Thank you so much for all your time and all the things you talked about.
Well, thank you so much. And yeah, anytime you want to do it, just let me know. I'm sorry I'm
I
kind
didn't
of
hassle you too much
bad.
for this one, did I? Like the
Oh,
last
no,
one.
not the last. No, the first time you were like, Dan, if you don't come on my broadcast, I'm gonna boil your bunny. And I was like, man, I really don't want my bunny boiled, so I better do it because this girl means business. And so, oh, by the
No,
way,
but you did
I
one. You did made the mistake because you said, "Oh, okay," and I said, "Right, when?" That's what that.
right, right, yeah, I was a little reluctant. Not that I'm reluctant. I just like I'm more like, oh, I don't know. I just sometimes I just don't really, you know. I'm like,
No,
well,
I
does
know.
she
I know
really
what you
want?
mean.
I don't
I-
know.
I'm glad. I'm glad that you did.
Yeah, I'm sort of shy, really, honestly, by nature. My biggest fear was public speaking, you know. But you reach a point in your life where sometimes, you know, you you get to a point where you're just like, doesn't matter anymore. You put all those fears aside and just say, you know what, there's something more important going on here than worrying about my own issues with speaking. And so for that's why I didn't do the whole YouTube thing early on. I was just just a subscriber to many channels and watching other people's videos, and just sort of paying attention to things, but I just didn't want to do it myself. Like I said, I was a little bit nervous doing it. I was like, I don't know if I can do all this stuff. But I'll tell you, like I said, when you finally realize that, you finally realize your
Yeah,
truth,
Hangouts isn't
you'll
for
do it.
everybody, Scarab. Just because we're
Yeah.
more outward going, really. I know you said you're shy. I don't.
I am. I am
Yeah, no.
ultimately, yeah.
But once you start doing it, you can't help it. You've got to do more and more of it, haven't you? Putting out the information. I like us coming together as a community a bit and talking and stuff. Hello.
Oh, sorry. Sorry.
Oh, you're
My
there.
I
So
was
I
muted.
lost
I
you for
was
a minute.
muted. I apologize. Yeah, so I agree. I mean, I think it's like it does get easier, for sure, but oh my God, I was so nervous going live the first time. Oh my Lord. I thought I was gonna like have a heart attack. I was like, what am I gonna talk about? How do I, and I would I don't know, just me, but I, you know, I just decided that I remember when I first started my first videos, it was so funny because I was like, I was trying to imitate what I had seen, right? And what was popular on YouTube, it was like the YouTube voice, like, hey guys, it's so and so at this channel. And I was like, um, I kind of tried a little of that, but then when I heard myself, I was like, oh, good Lord, that is not me. I cannot do that. So, what I just fell back into and what I found worked best for me was just being myself and like just talking like I normally talk and don't try to overdo anything and don't try to be somebody you're not. Just be you. And I know like that's the old cliche, like, "Oh, just be you." But it really is true. Like you just be you. Like, you know what? I am not perfect. I make mistakes. I say things I shouldn't. I curse too much. Whatever. But when you hear me, you're getting me. I mean, everything that you experienced is me. Like that's it. Okay, in a
Good,
nutshell. I'm not
good.
trying to act like
Very
I'm
good.
anybody else or anything like that. So that's it. That's
I'm pleased
that's how
about
I
that.
made it work. What's that?
I'm glad we're getting all of you.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's what I mean. Is just like I don't try to be. I just find that there's too many fake people out there.
I think people can hear it in your voice, and people know when they're getting a fake person or a real person. I think
I
people
hope
know
so.
really. Yeah.
Well, and that's why I want to emphasize just what I was saying more so than being on camera and all that stuff, because there's a level of like another layer there. And I didn't want to like, get on camera and be like, oh man, I look good today. Oh yeah. Or I didn't want to worry about my image. I just wanted to speak and just say what I felt was the truth in my heart. So that was it. And so that's what I've been going with ever since. And I guess it's done all right. I mean, it's definitely done all right for you because you're the same type of person. Just go out there and speak your truth. And it's funny how like do you find it interesting like how you may not like I don't gain in subscribers anymore. I don't gain. I lose every month. I lose a few hundred a month. They just get taken away. But the people that I have and I speak to that come to my channel are literally the same people all the time. They don't ever miss a broadcast almost. It's like I can read out the names and it's like they're there all the time. So what I built is like such a solid bond of people that just, that continually come back and support me. And that's, hey, I would take those people over having tens of thousands that just are watching me to feel like they're part of something popular or whatever. You know what I mean? So that's awesome to me. And I hope that that's the same case for you.
Yeah. Yeah, I just I can't find fault. I just agree with everything you say.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
there it is. Oh, by the way, I heard it was International Women's Day the other day.
Was it?
And I got to tell you, that's a Mandela effect for me because in my old world, every day was Women's Day. So I don't know what happened. You guys only get one day now, but used to be used to be every day was Women's Day. So what happened? I don't know. It must be Mandela.
So just before, obviously, we're going to finish in a moment.
Yeah.
What are you putting out on your channel so people know on my channel?
What am I putting out?
Yeah, what are you talking about at the moment?
Well, we have our Freaky Friday broadcast where we kind of talk about we just have a kind of an open forum where we talk about all the crazy stuff that's sort of in the news and just show people like what's being spoken about maybe on in different circles other than mainstream. It could be anywhere from science fiction to politics to anything like that. We also like to show some memes, and then I do some have some people call in and uh share anything they want. It's open line, you call in, talk about Sasquatches or whatever. I don't know anything about Sasquatch, but if you want to call and talk about some Sasquatch, I'm your guy. Okay.
Well,
I'm not
maybe
here
we
to
could do
judge.
that. Maybe you come back again and we talk again. Then we can do that next time. Then.
What? Talk about Sasquatch?
Yeah, or whatever you want. I like you
What do you
talking.
know about Sasquatch?
Not too much, I suppose. I've never
Oh,
got into it
me neither.
myself.
Yeah, I'm not an expert at all in Yetis and stuff like that. I don't know. I'm just saying, like, as an example, if you called in, you could, you know, you could definitely talk about anything you want. It's open line. And then, of course, Monday night we have the Mandela Monday broadcast where we focus more on the Mandela effect. We might shift gears a little bit and talk about other things. We laugh a lot. We always kind of, you know,
You're basically
just
doing what I'm doing then. You're trying to make a community. Yours is just called, mine's called SAMFU and yours is called Scarab.
pretty much. I mean, it's like what I'm saying is like we're not much different as far as like you probably covered a few different things than I cover, but ultimately you're just another real person that's out there just
Yeah,
trying to
and
spread
we're
truth.
come together today. We've come together today and made it a bigger family today.
Well, I hope so. And like I said, everyone's welcome. Of course, my times are going to be a little off because I broadcast kind of like at 9 o'clock
Well,
at
hopefully
night.
you can use this video.
I possibly could, you know, and
You can upload this one onto your channel.
I could if you know if I don't want to get a copyright strike though. You know, gotta watch
Well, I'm
out.
not going to do it, am I?
I know you're not. I know you're I'm just kidding. Yeah, no problem. No problem at all. I wouldn't have any problem with that at all. No, I you know, just we had a great conversation and a great time and enjoyed sharing with you
Yeah,
today.
and 10,
And
10 till we do it
yeah,
again.
we'll do it again for sure. And you know, like I said, I love the fact that thank you for the I love that stuff by the way. The historical changes, monuments, things that look really out of place in our world. If you have
Yeah.
anything you want to share with me, I'd be more than happy to bring that up on a broadcast and, you know, let everybody know where I got it, of course. Check out her channel, like and subscribe and all that good stuff. And yeah, but I love that stuff. So if you're poking around and you find something interesting, let me know because I'm always interested in looking up you know, weird things about our history. I think it's great to see and great to report on.
Oh, lovely Scarab. Anyway, thank you yet again. Don't go. I'll say goodbye to you off air, but for on air, thank you very much, Scarab. Mwah. And
Thank
chat
you for
room.
having me. Thank you very
Oh no,
much.
thank you. Thank you, my
Oh,
darling.
appreciate it.